Evening, sir. Good for you. Look at the size of this committee, by the way. Look at this stack. Is this the biggest committee? This is the biggest one? I'm going to say it's the biggest one. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Chelsea Land Use Committee. It's the month of July. I'm the chair of the Chelsea Land Use Committee, Greg Morris. It's great to see everybody here tonight. I have some items I have to read in advance to make sure we're all on the same page. What's that? I'm gonna try. Someday I'll do it in I'll rhyme it or something. But anyway, tonight, MCB4 has adopted a hybrid meeting policy whereby we meet in person and there's a remote option. All community board meetings will require an in-person quorum. We do have the quorum, correct, Jesse? Thank heavens. Committee members are expected to attend meetings in person unless they have a disability or an extraordinary circumstance as defined by New York State open meetings law. Excused committee members attending remotely can fully participate in the meeting and must leave their cameras on. I know folks online know that already. Good evening, welcome, perfect timing. Last but not least, we are recorded. It is currently live streaming on YouTube as we speak. Some words on decorum that on occasion we have to remind each other of. We are expected to treat each other with respect. We want to make sure that our representatives from city, state, federal agencies, and elected officials are treated with respect and courtesy. We expect to maintain a fair and appropriate decorum as well. If there are disruptions, and I will be honest with you, those have happened sometimes, we put the meeting on pause until the disruption is resolved, and then we restart. We will make time for public session, and we're going to run the agenda this way. We're going to lead with the LPC item. Then we're going to talk about the town hall briefly. And when we talk about the town hall that took place earlier this month, we're just going to highlight some of the things that we heard from elected officials based on some of the questions. Then we'll do public session. And then after public session, then the committee will have a conversation specifically in relation to our next steps moving forward in reaction to the NYCHA redevelopment conversation. That's the plan for the evening. Last but not least, for committee members, as a reminder, we're going to use the mics to speak. We'll do the thing where we run around and make sure you have time to be able to speak. We pass mics around to be able to do that. Once again, please be responsible and respectful. And by the way, I will hold one mic during the time to just make sure that we're steering the conversation, trying to get from point A to point B, so we hear from everyone in all the ways possible. Once again, good evening. Thank you very much. And now, let's start. Presentation, LPC Group. Who's kicking us? Esther, is that our LPC application for 601 West 26th Street? This is the Starrett Lehigh Building. It's a signage master plan, an installation of tenant signage. And I want to thank in advance David, who was on a call with me with this particular group in preparation for this conversation. Thank you, Dave. On that note, I will turn it over to our friends putting forward the LPC application.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Esther Wagner. I'm a historic preservation consultant with Higgins Quaisbarth, and I'm joined this evening by my colleague, Julie Rosen. Also joining us is Ikue Sohn from HLW, the architects of record for this project, and Carly Auclair from RXR, the building owners. 601 West 26th Street, the Starrett Lehigh Building, is an industrial warehouse building designed by Russell G. and Walter M. Corey, along with Yasuo Matsui, built in 1930 to 1931. It's an entire city block between 26th and 27th Streets and 11th and 12th Avenues. It's an individual landmark and a contributing building to the West Chelsea Historic District. And the building now functions as a mixed-use office and retail space. The scope of work proposed today is for a signage master plan located at the 11th Avenue elevation, which you can see in this overall photo that I'm circling with my cursor. I'm now going to turn it over to Carly from RXR to talk a little more about the current use and layout of Starrett Lehigh.
Thanks, Esther. And thank you for the opportunity to meet with you all this evening. My name is Carly Auclair, and I'm a senior project manager of design with RXR. And we appreciate the chance to be able to present the signage proposal for Starrett Lehigh along 11th Avenue and to share a little bit about the broader vision behind it. As you can see now with the elevation up here, it is a mixed-use building. And since RXR acquired the property in 2012, Starrett Lehigh has continued its remarkable transformation from its origins as a manufacturing building into a dynamic creative campus and commercial anchor. It now operates as a mixed-use hub with fully released retail, expansive office space, and activated public amenities throughout the building. Through long-term ownership, substantial investment, and thoughtful upgrades, the building supports a vibrant, innovation-focused ecosystem. Now, with all that said, with the lease up of the retail spaces, the launch of the Ali Market on the ground floor off 26th Street, the expo space, the level 10 amenities, and other major capital improvements, our focus has shifted towards the reofficing of the upper floors, shown here in the light blue. As part of this effort, we're seeing increased demand from larger office tenants who are seeking visibility and brand identity as part of a large lease. So signage plays a key role in supporting prospective tenants' presence and elevating our leasing strategy overall. So I'll just wrap us up to say that proposed signage along 11th Avenue has been intentionally designed to address functional objectives while respecting the architectural integrity of this building. The strategic location, as you'll see in following pages, was selected due to the prominence of the 11th Avenue facade, which serves as a key visual approach for tenants, pedestrians, and visitors. And given that strategic location and role as a key point of entry to the building, also shown here off of 11th Ave, presents a highly effective opportunity to showcase the identity and tenancy of the upper floors. So in conclusion, our goal is to further elevate Starrett Lehigh's role as a hub for creative innovation while actively contributing to the vibrancy of this neighborhood by attracting dynamic new tenants who will help sustain and strengthen the broader community. Thank you.
So the scope of work includes the establishment of a new master plan for office tenant signage located at the 11th Avenue ground floor facade. The signage will be installed at LPC approved architectural fin cladding located at the north portion of the elevation. No historic material will be modified or altered as part of this application. And I also want to reiterate what Carly said. 11th Avenue acts as a primary entrance to the building, and most foot traffic approaches from the east. So tenants' identification at this facade is vital to the visibility of upper floor tenants. In a proposed rendering at the 11th Avenue elevation, the proposed signage is adjacent to this main building entry for that purpose of upper floor tenant visibility. Here are existing conditions photos of the architectural fins, which are a painted aluminum. There are Con Edison louvers located behind the fins, and the fins open to allow for access and ventilation to the louvers. We see this in detail in the right-hand photo where we see breaks in the fins, and those are access doors to the louvers behind. The signage proposed as part of the master plan will maintain this access, and its installation methodology will also allow for continued operability of these doors. I also want to point out that we have integrated light in the marquee above the architectural fins. So in historic photos, we see the building did have a variety of signage around the city block, and specifically at the 11th Avenue facade, we see dimensional signage throughout the elevation, providing a precedent for the scope of work for building signage as well as tenant signage. In the last several years, there's been a variety of signage types approved at Starrett Lehigh, These include a 2018 approved market tenant signage and 2019 approved retail tenant signage in locations around the building, and these highlight the retail spaces. We also see marquee and building facade signage approved in 2022 for building identification. I do want to note that none of these signage approvals cover upper floor tenants. Since Starrett Lehigh is also a contributing building to the West Chelsea Historic District, we want to take a look at another prominent building located just adjacent to Starrett Lehigh, which we see in context in the photo on the right, the Terminal Warehouse. It is also a rather large building in the district with multiple facades. In 2019, there was an approved signage master plan for dimensional signage. We want to highlight specifically signage approved at the 11th Avenue facade. The master plan at Terminal Warehouse included a variety of signage types, locations, and sizes, and was a mix of building identification and tenant signage at the ground floor. So the idea for the master plan is to carefully consider an intentional installation for office tenant signage. And we've outlined here the parameters for that master plan. So the signage will be limited only to the 11th Avenue facade installed on these LPC approved architectural fins. There will be a maximum of 3 office tenant signs on this facade, and each sign will not exceed 15 inches in height. Signs will consist of individually pin-mounted aluminum characters, 1/4 inch in depth with a white finish. The signs can include logos and/or text in tenant-specific fonts and can be 1 or 2 lines, but again, they cannot exceed that 15-inch maximum height allowance per sign. The signs will also be non-illuminated. In elevation on 11th Avenue, we see the proposed signage in context to the ground floor elevation, and we see that it's modest in scale to the 11th floor, to the 11th ground floor elevation and the length of the overall building. In detailed elevation, the access doors to the Con Edison louvers behind the fins can be seen. The individually mounted characters allow for continued accessibility to these louvers and will be spaced so as not to block any of the operability. The sizing parameters are also illustrated, showing a maximum 18 feet in signage length across the louvers, beginning at the southernmost edge of the fin wall, and a minimum off the ground height of 3 feet and 6 3/4 inches. The pins will be mounted only into the architectural fins, which we see here in this elevation detail. I want to reiterate that no historic fabric will be modified or altered as part of this application. RXR has also been in contact with the fin manufacturer to ensure repairs are done seamlessly, and they have confirmed that a patching and repainting methodology for repairs will be sufficient. I also want to add that they don't anticipate much tenant turnover, and so not much changes in the signage on this facade. From across the street, the proposed signage provides the visible impacts that the upper floor tenants need, with a low physical impact in context to the overall 11th Avenue elevation. It's modestly scaled in the overall facade, as you can see in an existing conditions photo compared to the proposed rendering. And with that, I want to thank you all very much for your time and consideration, and we're happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much for the presentation. Do we have questions from the committee? I see a hand on this side. Paul? Microphone's yours.
Hey all, thanks for this presentation. You used the Terminal Warehouse as a precedent for this signage. I believe that historically the Terminal Warehouse had customer brand identifiers on the exterior of the building, which is why we allowed that to happen there, but did not want this at Starrett Lehigh. So what made you choose that as a precedence, given that that wouldn't support this argument?
When we took a look at Terminal Warehouse, what stood out to us was the approval of dimensional signage at the ground floor, specifically how tenant signage was laid out for visibility, and we were looking at that as a precedent for the signage sizing at Starrett Lehigh, as well as location on the elevation.
All right, but the reason that we approved that signage for the tenants was because that was a historically accurate representation of the building, such that brand names of tenants could be on there. So the precedent of establishing the lettering sizing and things like that is my next point, which is one of the things that we have opposed in the past is brand logos being placed on these historic buildings. So no McDonald's golden arches, no googly eyes. We have opposed branded logos on the exterior of the buildings, and we, I think, did that at Terminal Warehouse as a precedent. Again, the Terminal Warehouse, as your precedent, would determine that we would not support branded logos on the exterior of this historic building.
Other questions?
Can I just ask how long is those fins? How long is that space?
The total
18 feet?
So the total length of the fin wall
Uh-huh.
on the 11th Avenue elevation, and I'll pull that up in a photo as well, is 88 feet and 7 inches.
88 feet. So you could technically, what you're looking for is they could just go all the way across.
No, there will be a maximum length allowance of 18 feet starting from the southernmost.
That's huge. That's still huge. Okay, that's what I wanted to clarify. That's a lot. That's huge. Okay, thank you.
Hi, everyone. This is Julie Rosen from Higgins Place Barth. I just wanted to add, and thank you, Esther, for pulling up this overall elevation. So we're seeing that entire 88-foot expanse here. Again, the maximum length of any given tenant sign is 18 feet, but that's, a tenth of the length of this wall. So you can see the very modest extent here in relation to the overall elevation. And as Esther noted, there is a maximum of 3 tenant signs allowed, so they are not going to extend along this entire elevation. It's limited to what's shown in this proposal here.
I'm going to go with, and we're going to do in the room first. Hector, I see your hand up. Then we'll go to you. I'm going to go in the room first, then we'll go online. David, you're up next.
Yeah, Julie, will the signs be in different fonts? Will there be logo types? Will there be images like golden arches? What can you tell us about that?
Sure. Esther, do you want to pull up the parameter slide? And I'll have Esther go into the specifics, but yes, that has all been considered.
Right. So the color finish of all the signs will be whites. There are allowed to be different tenant-specific fonts and logos. They cannot exceed a 15-inch height maximum. And again, any logo and any lettering will all be finished in the same white finish.
Right. So the logo may include an image as well as lettering, correct?
Possibly. That is to be determined with the tenants.
Yes,
Okay.
that is the intent, is to allow the tenants maximum flexibility for what they have on the building. Some tenant names include logos as part of the brand identity, as Carly outlined in her introduction. Brand identity, visibility, letting people know that these brands have a presence and the companies have a presence in the building is very, very important for leasing opportunities. So that is why we are proposing that amount of flexibility for the signage. And Carly, it might have you just add a little bit of clarity to that as well.
Yes, I mean, Julie hit the nail on the head. I mean, the idea behind attracting, retaining the reofficing is that presence and showing the connection with new tenant to the building. The logo is more of from the approach of maintaining the tenant's designated branding, but setting up the parameters so they fall within it, that we do have consistency, even though there might be a slight variation in font or the expression of it.
So the height of the lettering that you've illustrated, that would include the entire logo, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and could we go back to historic photos showing early signage on the building? So it looks like there was quite a bit historically.
Quite a bit of signage and quite large signage as well. So again, when we look at the overall elevation of 11th Avenue, this tenant signage is very modestly scaled and will certainly be secondary to the building identification signage on the marquees.
Okay, thank you.
Kate Danks, go ahead.
I may have misheard, so can you just clarify for me? Did you say that only 3 tenants would have signs on this proposed facade?
Yes, there will be a maximum of 3 tenant signs allowed.
All right, and am I right then? What you're saying is that it would be 3 tenants at most 15 inches high, but could be 18 feet long? Is that it?
Yes, so the maximum height would be, let me pull up the parameters. Maximum height would be 15 inches. They cannot exceed the 18-foot length. However, these offsets will provide additional spacing and visibility to the fins, so the signs won't take up a disproportionate amount of volume on the elevation.
So for those of us, I'm sorry, I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
let me just jump in and say, I don't understand what that means.
Exactly.
I don't know if you do either.
Don't get it.
Could you explain that one more time, that last piece about volume? I didn't follow that.
Yes, sorry. So the off spacing of the signs that we see in the rendering will be part of the master plan, so that there is spacing between the signs and that we don't have just a full 18 feet of signage along the elevation. In the detailed view, and I'll zoom in. Oh, apologies. We see that the first sign will start 3 feet 6 inches from the southernmost fin.
Okay, so you're saying that sort of all told, with the spacing, like there's going to be empty 3 feet to the left, and then they'll also be offset, the 3 of them. So the farthest, so tenant C at the bottom set to the right, all the way over to the wall on the left, the total space is 18 feet, but no one tenant will have 18 feet of name or logo. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. All right. That's super helpful. And then, sorry, and then can you just clarify something, Paul, you had said earlier, is that it was your understanding, I believe, that in the building next door, they're not allowed to include logos. Is that right? Or I don't know if you guys know. Yeah. So do you know if in the building next door that you were using as sort of an example, are they allowed to only use lettering on the outside of the building, or are they also allowed to include logos?
We don't know. We would need to follow up with you on that.
Great. That would be helpful. Okay. Thank you.
Let's go, Joseph. Okay, sure. Rodney, Pamela Viren, go ahead.
Thank you. Picking up on Katie's question, you're asking for 3, but is there a possibility you could come back next year and ask for 3 more?
No, 3 is part of the master plan. And I'll have Carly jump in and explain how they've gotten to that number.
Yes. So to your question, any more than 3? 3 is the approach for a maximum to establish a certain threshold for a tenant that would be able to have this level of visibility. It would need to be a sizable tenant, and therefore we would limit it to 3 to kind of maintain that prominence and presence. We don't want it to go down the entire 88 feet and capture every tenant. It's someone with a very large footprint.
Pamela, go ahead.
Thank you. So I hate to say this, but I have never had a fondness for those aluminum fins on that building. They always seem to me highly inappropriate and very out of place. I like to think of them as temporary, that maybe someday a better idea will come forward. In the meantime, they are recessed. They're set back. Am I correct in that? So you mentioned that there's lighting. You plan to have lighting above in a soffit, I assume. So the question is, is it recessed, and what is the depth of the recess?
If I could just clarify quickly, the lighting is already existing in the marquee above, so lighting is not part of this proposal. The letters will be non-illuminated.
Understood, but it does indicate that it sticks out further than the fins. That protrudes more into the public space than the fins.
The letters themselves.
This is a very minor point, so if we don't have an answer, that's okay.
Let them have a chance to respond if you put it out there. Go ahead. Go ahead.
The letters themselves will be only a 1/4 inch in depth, and that is how much they protrude from the fins.
Well, it's not exactly my question, but that's fine. I am okay with the signage and the lettering. I am not okay with the logos. I think that it's definitely inappropriate for the historic district. And since other buildings in the district have not been given that, it's a wild card. I mean, the logos could be anything. So the lettering can be proper and dignified, and I certainly identify who the tenants are. But logos, I don't care for that. Thank you.
Let's go. Viren? Let's go that way. Yeah, thank you.
Just a quick question. If the tenants change in future, would you replace the signs? That's number 1 question. And number 2 question is, typically, when you have significant buildings and you have significant tenants, and if the building is 50-story tall, you really don't have 50 tenants or even 5 tenants' names put outside on the building. So why is that significantly important here? This is a philosophical question, but it bothers me quite a bit because it's a historical district, it's a historical building, and we kind of appreciate its presence here quite a bit. And we don't really want to sort of, the Starrett Lehigh itself is a kind of symbol by itself. I don't know if putting these tenants' names is something that's very helpful. So can you find me an example where you can actually show on any of the historical district historical building besides terminal stores where this has been done?
Apology. Julie, would you like to answer that one?
Gave you a lot there. That was philosophy. That was.
Yeah. And I'm sorry, I missed the very last part of the question, if that could be.
Do that one more time, Viren.
Repeated. Thank you.
The two questions. Number 1 is, if the tenants change, would that mean everything will change with the signage? That's number 1 question. Number 2 question is, can you give us an example of any historical building in New York City where tenants' names have been put up on the exterior of the building as part of signage? Can you give us an example of that besides the terminal stores?
Oh, sure. Thank you. Okay. So the first question is yes. So part of why this project has been designed as a master plan is to allow for flexibility of changing out the signage with changing tenancies and without having to come back for an approval every single time tenancy changes. As Esther mentioned, it is not expected that there will be high turnover, but in the event that there is turnover of tenancy, yes, the existing signage would be removed and new tenant-specific signage would go in. Any existing penetrations would be repaired per the fin manufacturer's instructions, and then this new signage would be installed. As part of the parameters, again, all of the signage will be white. It will only be 1/4 inch thick, and it's just the specific fonts or logos that would change with that. In terms of upper floor building tenancy, I mean, it's certainly something that is considered in a lot of projects. The commission has approved the option to do either, building address signage or major tenant signage, potentially, if there was a tenant that would meet those needs. That was something that was considered recently at 32 Avenue of the Americas, which is also an individual landmark located in Tribeca, where there was new dimensional signage proposed over the main entry on 6th Avenue. And what it would say was totally open. That was not something that was considered a negative during the process because the signage type and the location and the attachment methods were really what was being regulated and not the content of the signage.
You have a follow-up? You okay? Good. Anybody else in person? Hector.
Hello, everybody. Good evening.
Good evening.
The Starrett Lehigh Building is, obviously historical. It's been around in the neighborhood for ages. I'm not a big fan of the fins to begin with. I'm sorry. We're talking about the signage this evening, or are we talking about also about the expansion of the fins as well? We're just focusing on signage?
Only signage. There's no impact to the fin.
Gotcha. Well, not a big fan of it. As far as the signage goes, yeah, I'm on board as well without no logo. No logos. I think that's really tacky. The fins are already really stands out like a sore thumb as it is, and any other fancy signage would be really would make it worse. Let's put it that way. And it's only supposed to be 3. And as someone else mentioned, you folks will not be coming back in about a year or two, trying to expand on that. We hope. Okay.
No,
very
that's
good.
not. No, we're proposing 3.
Okay. All right. Hopefully it stays that way. All right. Thank you very much.
And actually, Greg, if I could just add in a clarification, I checked with one of my colleagues and they did confirm that the LPC approval for the terminal warehouse signage did ultimately include logos as part of the approval.
I don't know if anybody heard that aw shucks from the crowd. David, I see your hand up. I'm going to jump over to you.
Yeah, when I previewed this, I didn't think it would be controversial. It's an interesting comparison to terminal warehouse, where the applied signage was actually on the historic fabric of the building and in a place where it could potentially interfere with the building composition. This is a much different condition. We're talking about a low band of non-original material that's very neutral. And to me, this lettering doesn't really interfere with the building's composition at all. I wouldn't have a problem approving it. It also is, I think, defensible on the grounds of adaptive reuse. I mean, the building does not serve its original purpose, and this signage helps it remain vital and cared for by virtue of aiding its tenancy and continuous occupancy. So I think there are historic preservation reasons for supporting it. And if on terminal stores, we got lettering with logos, I think that it would be fine to do here. And I would make a motion that we approve this.
Do we have a second? Second on the floor. Paul, I'm going to let you ask the question. Go ahead.
Just for clarification on the motion, David, you said, did we, I don't recall, I thought that we did not approve logos on terminal warehouse, but the LPC then overrode our decision. Is that correct? Inga's nodding her head. I can't find the letter. We did not approve logos. So I would like to make a friendly amendment to the motion that we stay consistent in our position in opposing logos on the building. Even though LPC has overridden us in the past, I would like to make a friendly amendment that we exclude logos. All other factors are the same, the size, the lettering, 18 feet, 16 inches, 15 inches, all that. Everything else I think is fine here. I think that because we have opposed logos in the past, I would recommend we oppose logos going forward on historic buildings. Is that an acceptable amendment?
Accepted. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Are you ready to do your count? All nicely done. All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
We got Mike on, we got Hector on. Okay, you got your count. All those opposed? Any abstentions? Approval of conditions. Thank you. That was, yes, approval of conditions. Thank you. And abstentions at P&E. I believe it has passed. Is that correct? Well done. Nice presentation. Thank you very much for your time. We appreciate your presentation. Much appreciated to the committee for navigating that conversation with such good questions. And on that point, on that note, thank you very much, everybody. Appreciate your time on the presentation. Beautiful. Look, there's clapping in the background. I love it. That's always exciting. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a great night. We much appreciated. Okay. on your way out. Here we are. Okay. So we finished the LPC section. We're now moving into item 2, which is committee discussion. Now, the committee discussion component has 2 parts to it. One is related to the town hall, and one is sort of what does this committee think about moving forward. The reason why we were focused on the town hall, and just by way of reminder, there was a town hall recently. It was at PS 33. Elected officials, Eric Botcher was in the room. Assembly member Simone was in the room, and we also had a representative from Congressman Nadler's office. The purpose and value of that particular town hall was to hear from the elected officials specific to the Fulton Elliott Chelsea redevelopment. For those of you who were there in person, community board members who were there in person, present, listening, engaged, or volunteering, thank you. I think that was an evening that had a great deal of energy. I think there were some critical questions asked. I would not necessarily suggest that everyone or anyone left satisfied, but I would say this. It was the first time, as someone who's been part of this committee for a while now, not just as chair, where I heard directly from our elected officials respond to questions that had been posed by either by virtue of conversations we've had in this setting or separately that we have asked for answers and have not necessarily gotten. So I just want to sort of start from that perspective to say the town hall's value, I hope, is that we did hear from our elected officials, even if what we heard was not necessarily what we, and when I say we, I mean as a community, folks were essentially hoping to hear. Before we go into, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna spend maybe 2 or 3 minutes, kind of for those of you who were not present, to get a couple of notes from the elected officials, meaning content that was shared during the town hall. Just take a minute or two to, question asked in response, just so we can be on the same page from what we heard that night, in case folks were not present or not engaged or not capable of being there. And then we'll go into public session. So if folks have content from the public, then we'll do that. And then we'll discuss, okay? But I do want to take a minute for those of us to be on the same page about some of what we heard during the course of this convening. And on that note, would you mind putting up the deck? You're a good man. Thank you, Jesse. Let's give it up for Jesse, everybody. I mean, this guy, every day, he's here. He's working hard. He's got 50 meetings a week. All right. This is a lot of text, and I'm not going to read it all. I'm just going to try to highlight. So that's real. That's real. There's our board chair leading the questions. So and by the way, prior to the town hall, there was more than 120 questions received for the town hall. And these are actually the questions that were received at the town hall. And there's another 120. So in total, there were 250 questions asked. There's no, it's only index cards. 250 questions asked in relation to this particular town hall. And given that we had 2 hours in total, There was no conceivable way to go through every question, but I did want to sort of frame this for you because I think there's something important about this. Jessica led off the session, and I'm not going to read all of this. I'm just going to highlight it. Jessica led off the session by reminding everybody what the purpose of a community board is, and that it was made up of volunteers who live and work in the community. It's got an advisory capacity and the voices to inform elected officials and government agencies. Even when we take a vote, though, she said, there was no vote at the town hall, it is not binding. It is simply to inform and advise. So I just want to kind of note that because there have been circumstances, more than one, where folks have said, either in public session or other settings, why is it that this board has not voted up or down on this project? Meaning, and when I say project, I simply mean the Fulton Elliott Chelsea redevelopment conversation. And I just want to sort of note that because I think there has been some interpretation in some cases that the community board, by voting up or down, could stop or start the particular project. And that's not that's not the way it works. And I just want to highlight that from Jessica's point of view to start. She also flagged for everyone that there was a working group. Community board members were part of the working group. And a very detailed report came from that at the end, and it recommended rehabilitation. That's where the last sort of stance that the community board had in relation to this particular project. Just wanted to highlight that again, okay? And it also recommended mixed income residential infill, and that was agreed in February 2021. Over the last 2 years, she said, many of our land use, this one, housing committees and full board meetings have had this on their agenda. So this is not to say that more couldn't be done. This isn't to say that more doesn't need to be done. It's simply to sort of frame what the purpose of the community board is in relation to a conversation with elected officials in advance of the particular town hall. And on that note, I'm going to highlight, and again, it's going to be a lot of text here. Next slide, Jesse. There's going to be a lot of text. I'm not going to go through all the text. I just want to be clear in terms of some of the questions that were asked and the answers. And then when we finish that, we'll turn it over to the public. But the chair asked a specific question. And by the way, I have to be over on here because we have to be on camera. So when you guys do public testimony, it'll be from here because of the way the camera is positioned tonight. But I just want to sort of note this. Asking the elected officials specifically what their current position on this project was. And in both cases, Botcher and Simone, this is their actual, how they responded. They are actually essentially saying, we may have criticism, but we're not going back. That was a theme from the conversation. So if you were there in person, one of the things that was asked was, where do you stand? And both Councilmember Botcher and Assemblymember Simone were essentially saying, we want to improve the plan, but it wasn't as if we're starting over. If other folks heard other things, I'm just literally taking content from what we actually heard during the course of that session. Next slide, Jesse. The language was ground zero, actually, as well. Our chair also asked, how do you feel comfortable endorsing this project? Knowing the public process has not yet been completed, what can we expect from you in terms of continued due diligence? Now, there's a lot of response to this. I've just drawn out some text that I think would be useful that was highlighted. Councilmember Botcher flagging his staff and support services, including the Attorney General's office, who he said supports this project, and her tenant protection unit, meet regularly with NYCHA and project partners. And our priority is that tenants are protected. The agreement that NYCHA is here using for this relocation is boilerplate, but we want them to go even further. So again, just want to sort of highlight this idea that Botcher essentially saying, Councilmember Botcher essentially responding to this saying, in terms of due diligence, I'm working with NYCHA, our elected officials are working with NYCHA, the AG's office is involved, and we don't want just the standard expectation, we want more than that. Hold on to your thoughts. Next slide. Jesse, please, thank you. Okay. The topic of the RFP came out. There was an RFP that helped to facilitated the determination of these particular developers. The chair asking essentially, shouldn't there be a new RFP at this point? Shouldn't a new RFP be required based on how far we've come? This is a question asked during the town hall. Assemblymember Simone essentially responding saying, well, we came to the conclusion that the tenants wanted this project. Again, I'm just telling you what was said during the course of the session. And then he goes on to talk about residents would have to move out of their home and move back again if we did this another way. Chair, is there a scenario in which you would have thought a new RFP was necessary? And the response was along the lines of, I don't agree with everything in this process, but in the end, we can't wait any longer. Again, I'm just drawing from the actual language that was used during the course of this conversation, agree or disagree, because we know that when we've had these conversations, questions have come up about RFPs. It's been about why are we not starting over? What about the public process? Can we do another slide? I'm gonna do one or two more slides and then we'll stop. Because this one, the chair asked directly, do you have concerns about this project? And what specific actions will you and your office be taking to solve them? So you can see from Councilmember Botcher's response, you can see height and massing of buildings was a concern for him. He doesn't like the way the project has been identified in that way. He also noted money. The money should stay here in Chelsea. In other words, if you're going to go through this process, the money should actually benefit the Chelsea community. 30% affordable housing was the result. He said, I don't think that's good enough. Assemblymember Simone, we don't want to change the character of Chelsea, he said. I do think the tall buildings should be further west. We want to make sure the public schools can add seats. We want to make sure there's more open green space. We want to fight for more affordability. We would like to see increased affordability, more open space, more community access and facilities. Again, I'm not saying anything here except we convened a gathering of a lot of people. This is what we heard, and now this is essentially what I would suggest. The electeds are on record answering questions that we know have been posed in this body and others. Want to hit the next one? There it is. Thank you. This comes up often. Why do these buildings need to be demolished instead of renovated? And then it was modified a bit to say, why do all the buildings need to be demolished? Councilmember Botcher, I'm open to all possibilities. I think ULURP process will have an opportunity to shape this project. The chair talked about the final environmental study. We weighed in very heavily on the draft environmental impact statement. We weighed in very heavily on that. Can you speak about whether or not this project will go through ULURP? What commitments you make that goes through ULURP? Councilmember Botcher, my absolute demand for this project will go through ULURP, and that is what we're preparing to do with certification by the end of this year or early next year. Now, there's a lot to be said about the ULURP process and what parts of this project, if it were to proceed, would be under the ULURP umbrella and what might not. But I just want you to be aware, in terms of demolition versus rehabilitation, the response from the elected official was, well, we have ULURP as a tool. And at the end of the meeting, he talked a little bit about what ULURP is and how that works. Can you do another one for me? I think we're just about done here, but I don't want to lose sight of this, which is the chair asking in terms of who are the primary stakeholders that you're talking to and thinking about and engaging as you make decisions about this process. Assemblymember Simone, I understand that the survey makes some people upset, but the response rate was higher than the local election. I just want to clarify one thing. NYCHA will still own the land. The land is leased. It's not sold. It's a 99-year lease. The buildings remained under public control. That's a fact. Again, this is what we heard that night. This is what we heard. I just want to make sure we all know what we're hearing. Again, not suggesting that these are correct or incorrect. I just want to be clear. We hosted an event. There was lots of participation. And I think it's important that we're aware about what we heard. This is the actual content that we heard. Agree, disagree, true, untrue. That's not it. I just want to make sure we know what we're talking about. Chair, do you continue to believe the majority of tenants support this proposed plan? Or what else informs your decision to support this plan? This is a topic that has come up often. Council member, I would never support a plan that I didn't believe the majority of tenants supported. When I went to Fulton and Elliott Chelsea, I meet people who support this plan, who want this plan. But going back to square one would be a disservice. Assembly member, I would never do anything if the majority of tenants told us we shouldn't do it. And I get everyone's passion. It's a very, very big, significant change in your lives, but I do think in the long run, if we were to fast forward a few years from now, when you're in new homes, you will be happy. Could I get the next slide just to see which one that is? And then I don't know if we need to. Oh, sorry. I did want, here's, we need to end on this note because this is related to the Congressman Nadler's office. The chair asked the question, in light of the proposed federal budget, how do you think the federal budget may support for residents of Fulton, Elliott, Chelsea? What are your concerns about federal public housing going forward? From the representative Congressman Nadler's office. In the ideal world, we would get federal funding for Section 9 housing. We've been trying to get it for a long time, but we haven't been able to pass that bill. He goes on to say, no plan is perfect. This plan is not perfect. We hear your concerns. We cannot allow the residents who live to wait any longer. That's what he's getting at, okay? Again, I'm not agree or disagree, just letting you know what we heard. You can argue whether or not that's an exact answer to the question or not, but we have to do one more because there's one more that I think was a surprise because we got one more note that we did not know previously. And I think this is the last one. The current proposal, while it does produce the additional housing you spoke of, this is from the chair, there were concerns about right sizing, folks losing space. Councilmember Botcher, the regulations say that you have to right size all the apartments properly. When all of that is done, there will not be a loss of public housing, but we have to ensure residents get the apartments that match their household size. Chair, would you be willing to ask NYCHA that the plan increase the number of units effectively to make up for the bedrooms that might be lost for future generations? Councilmember Botcher, so one of the elements that we are discussing with NYCHA is adding more units to this plan. And that is a definite possibility. We're pushing for to get more units in addition to the new mixed income affordable. And I believe the chair at that point said that's new information and that she hadn't heard that before. Assemblymember Simone, yeah, I just want to add that right sizing is a federal requirement. It will happen with or without demolition, and we will keep a close eye on every single tenant with the Attorney General's office and the Legal Aid Society to ensure that every family has the appropriate sized apartment. I will pause there to reinforce the idea that we were not all in the, some of us were at the town hall, some of us were not. Those are drawn direct quotations from the meeting that I wanted to make sure we heard because we know that every question there has been posed in some way or another during the course of these meetings or other committee meetings that we've had. And I want to make sure you heard, and again, I'm not giving you the full 5-minute response, but I'm drawing out content to help us as we continue to discuss what's next in terms of the Fulton Elliott Chelsea redevelopment and how this committee, like other committees in the community board, respond. So again, this is not plus oneing what anybody says. It's simply to say, this is what we heard. And I wanted to make sure we heard that together here in case folks weren't in the room. On that note, if folks have reaction to just that content, so we're not doing anything other than just reacting to that, then we will pause and do public testimony. Viren, I think you had your hand up first. So we'll go this way, okay? Oh, you got a mic in your hand for heaven's sakes, Viren. Okay. Yes, please take that down. Thank you so much. Thank you. Go ahead, Viren.
All right, so very quickly.
Let's keep it no more than 2 minutes, okay? No more than 2 minutes.
No, I just need a minute. I think one of the first things I'm going to say is that Jessica did an amazing job. CB4 did an amazing job for asking the right kind of questions and goading the elected to actually address them. So I think that's the first note that I want to make. Second, there are many things that need to be corrected, and I don't want to sort of get into it, but one in particular I would, because I do know Letitia James personally. She has not taken any particular position on NYCHA project. She has neither approved or supported. She is going to do her job when it goes to her for her review. So that was completely wrongly stated, both by Botcher and Simone. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you, Viren. Marty? No more than 2 minutes here, so we have time for the public.
He turned me off. Oh, well. In the spirit, I have more to say than this. In the spirit of the way you presented it, I came away from that meeting with two important things that Botcher did say. One, you reported that he will argue for more affordable housing. I think that's a win. The second thing he said was that he would argue against the poor building, the building in for more, and you did not highlight that.
We could pull that up. No ill intent there, just didn't.
I'm sure there isn't. It's just I came away from the meeting with I came away from the meeting angry as hell, but these are the two positive things that I came away with from the meeting.
Thank you, Marty. I really
did. I stay in the spirit of your presentation.
Perfect. Thank you, Marty.
Thanks. So in response, I would say that as you showed the pile earlier of all the questions that were asked, I think that there are so many questions that didn't get answered. And I also think that even some of the questions that were answered that evening, the answers weren't heard by everyone because there was a lot of stuff going on. And I just think it would be really helpful if we could give some constructive suggestions about how questions can get posed and answers received, not just by the one person who asks the question, but that sort of everybody can hear the answers, you know, if, and so anyway, I hope that that's something that we can discuss going forward, how we can help in that process. And then the other thing I would say is just veering to the point you made, I don't know what was said specifically about whether or not Letitia James herself has taken a view. I do know that her tenant protection unit has been very involved. And so, and I thought that was the point that was made, was just that they're working closely with the tenant protection unit. But anyway, I would just say, at least the good news is I know that the tenant protection unit has been involved, and I appreciate that.
Important clarifying factors, and specific to the number of questions that were offered, as someone who has observed both what was presented before and during, I would say a third of the questions I've seen probably have answers. A third were brand new that there aren't any answers for, and a third are probably debatable. You're going to get 3 different sets of answers depending on who you talk to. So let's pass the mic down. David, go ahead.
Thanks for the introduction, Greg. I think that was very helpful. You mentioned at the top that the community is kind of looking for us to represent them, and you mentioned that even if we took a position against this project, we're simply advisory. We can't stop the project. However, I think it's important to reflect, you know, what we're hearing from the community. And it disturbs me that Eric Botcher can say that he is definitely against segregation, but still seem to support the project. We could, by October, be seeing demolition of the first 2 buildings, the replacement buildings, and the whole phasing for this project is entirely dependent on segregated NYCHA buildings. They're going to be the first ones to be built. So it seems a little bit, you know, false to say that. If he really wanted to make a point, he could say, I won't support a segregated project. And, you know, we could be in a position of saying, we can't support this project. We don't support it unless these things are done. You know, when we submitted the comments on the final EIS, Viren spoke about the danger of us simply checking boxes and NYCHA chugging along. And he said not to take a position is to take a position. I think we kind of owe it to all of the members of the public and the many residents who come out, some of whom have become as familiar to us as our fellow CB4 members, to take a position. And I'm very concerned about the time frame and the fact that there are no meetings in August. The next full board meeting is Wednesday. There's not another one until September 3rd. There's not another HHHS meeting before then. The next meeting after September 3rd is September 30th. And as I said, given the time frame, and I'll read it to you. 30 days after publication of the final environmental impact statement, which was on June 27th, a joint record of decision/statement of findings can be issued by the lead agencies, which will end the environmental review process. NYCHA and related will then be able to issue a 90-day notice to move to residents of Fulton 11 and Chelsea Addition. You know, given that time frame, I think we need to talk about how we're going to continue this discussion and get a position issued in a full board meeting as soon as possible. And I hope we'll return to that. When Eric said that he's going to insist on ULURP, that makes me wonder if he's supporting only the rezoning project, which is the only one that currently requires ULURP. Is he talking about applying ULURP to other projects which wouldn't require it on a rezoning basis, but for which it could be done optionally with NYCHA's agreement? His point about going back to square one, you know, if NYCHA or if Related hadn't hijacked this project and made the outrageous claim that it would cost as much to renovate the buildings as to replace them, the residents would already be living in renovated apartments. And in fact, if we went back to the RFP that Related won and a renovation project was begun right now, the residents would be in renovated homes sooner than the first residents who are going to move back into the first buildings to be rebuilt. Just give me a moment. And, you know, it seems strange to me that he talked about ULURP regardless of whether there's going to be demolition when the rezoning plan requires demolition. And he still is clinging to this idea of 1,000 new units of affordable housing, which is only provided by the rezoning option. And, you know, the EIS process has just been a complete joke. Their responses to our comments were a slap in the face. I really wonder about how realistically we can engage with NYCHA on this going forward unless our elected officials take a tougher line. And Eric could say, you know, you can send this project into ULURP, the rezoning option, but I will not support it. He could do that right now. And we could be in a better position in terms of leverage. We asked earlier to have a kind of slimmed down, reconvened Chelsea NYCHA working group. That idea went nowhere. So this talk of involving the community and adjusting the heights of the buildings, it sounds wonderful. I hope it happens. But, you know, I'm just worried that we're going to keep talking about these things and saying, wouldn't it be nice? And we're going to be living in the shadows of these monstrous buildings. I think it's very important to talk about the time that we have left and coming to a true position that reflects what the community wants.
I want to make sure that we get other people a chance to speak. Go ahead. In the room first and then online. Go ahead.
Yeah, I pretty much agree with what everyone has said. I do have one thing I just want to highlight is the right sizing. You know, the poor building, the right sizing. If you live in a suburban neighborhood or anything, you have families. They're all families. Everybody builds a new neighborhood. It's all filled with families, children. The children move away, they grow up. Then you have the senior citizens living there. Then it's down to one person who's living there. If we take all of their homes and make them into a one-bedroom or a studio, there's never going to be a neighborhood with children again because all the houses will be gone. That's the same thing NYCHA seems to be doing. There are a lot of senior citizens at this time. Generations move. So you have people that have had whole families, raised their children. We're now going to right size them and they'll never be families again because all these apartments will be studios. And the neighborhood I grew up in, my mom lives alone in a huge house. All the neighbors in that neighborhood. There's now a new family that moved in. Slowly, the old people die off and families move back in. But if they do this with NYCHA, they'll never make those apartments bigger. It's just, you're just wiping out families, future generations.
So we're just allowing for folks to react to what they heard and saw. Other folks want to weigh in here? Pamela, I see your hand up, and then we'll go online.
Okay. Hi. So I did watch the town hall on live stream. I agree with the comments that have been made here. I think there is not a person in this room that doesn't know exactly where I stand on this issue. But just to make sure, I have a little written statement I'd like to read. It doesn't relate necessarily to the town hall. This whole NYCHA debacle is an embarrassment for our electeds, whom I suspect are by now privately sorry that they were so swift to jump in bed with the real estate forces. It is a tragedy for the tenants and a disgrace for all who blithely go along with the myths, obfuscations, misinterpretations, and outright lies that perpetrated by the government and the developers. dangling the promise of washers and dryers and dishwashers before an unsuspecting population without fully disclosing the reality of what they are in for is pure deception. Destroying the elegantly designed campuses of FEC to replace them with mostly market housing, taking the precious open space for profit making, and destroying what was vast green canopy of mature trees is beyond unconscionable. Public housing and the land it sits on should remain public, not be privatized and turned into a cash cow for developers. NYCHA should be funded and not let off the hook by handing management over to the private sector, no matter how tempting a picture they may paint. Have we not learned what happens when we leave the foxes to mind the henhouse?
Pamela, thank you. Anybody else in person want to weigh in before I jump over to Hector? Hector, you ready? Yeah, please be careful out there, Hector. There you go, Hector.
Yeah,
We're ready. You're on. Go ahead.
Yeah, thanks. Basically, as far as the town hall meeting went, it was a mixed bag, obviously. A lot of support, some people against. Unfortunately, some people spoke louder than others. And as far as the politicians go, I'm kind of happy that they did come out pretty much in support of what we all knew to begin with. The majority of the tenants seem to want, which is the redevelopment. And basically, this is a once-in-a-generation opportunity to replace these crumbling buildings. Make them safe, modern, energy efficient, and we don't need any more delays or distractions or empty rhetoric. We've lived for decades with broken elevators, mold leaks. I can go on and on. You've heard the list of all the complaints before. It's unbelievable conditions. And basically, the plan on the table can finally deliver what we've long been promised, which is dignified housing, which I think everybody deserves. Basically, the majority of us, we do support the plan. And I'm speaking not as a CB4 member, but as a resident of Fulton Houses, who has been with this process since day one. And yes, I was a part of the original working group. And some of the people who were protesting were a part of the working group at one point, but decided they wanted to quit before it even really began. That's on them. That's their decision. They could have been involved with this process all along, and yet they chose to leave on their own. Nobody kicked them out. Nobody forced them out. That was their decision. So basically, when people say, oh, residents were never involved in this process from the beginning, yes, they were involved. I'm a resident, and I was involved along with several other people that weren't even in the Tenants Association at the time, who were just regular residents that were invited, and they went. And as I said, some stayed, some didn't. So basically, as far as all the rhetoric that I hear, considering that we're going to lose our homes and the downsizing and everything like that, we're not a bunch of ignorant hicks. And I think that's the impression that we are getting as residents, and people are expressing. Okay, so basically, I'm happy that basically the politicians have come out and said, hey, this is what the residents want, because this is exactly what's been happening. Am I happy that certain members of the community and even my colleagues on CB4 seem to think otherwise? Hey, it's America. Everybody's got their opinion. It may not be the correct one, but that's their opinion. So anyway, the town hall could
hold on. Heck,
yeah.
Go ahead, Hector. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, the town hall could have been a little better. I mean, basically, it was. I'm glad Jessica did what she ran it the way she did. The only caveat is that people were expecting to be able to get up there and speak, not cue cards. That was a last minute thing, and honestly, I wish that was announced earlier, not just thrown at the last minute, because a lot of people were upset about that. And I was kind of shocked myself because I didn't even know it either. So that's the only real issue I had with the town hall itself. But otherwise, it was held pretty well. But again, I think CB4 needs to take a hard stance when people are out and disrupting the meetings. Basically, where they do not allow people the fair opportunity to speak their opinion without being attacked or harassed while they're literally trying to speak out at the time. Meanwhile, the ones who speak the loudest, who are the most disturbed, they get to say what they want and forever how long they want, even if they're wrong or right. So I really think CB4 needs to take a harder stance on folks like that who are repeat offenders, okay? That's the only thing, and I strongly urge the board to try to do something more stricter moving forward, okay? Thank you.
Hector, thank you very much. Appreciate that. On that, unless there's another okay.
I just wanted to make a note of, I was at the town hall and I do appreciate the elected officials coming out. I know it was a long time coming. I honestly didn't think it was going to happen. So it even happening, I thought was great. I know we maybe didn't get all of the answers that we wanted, but I think it was a step in the right direction. It's great to hear how everyone feels. I mean, I do feel like it's the same opinions that we hear every month. And I would like us to progress. I feel like there has been zero progression. I feel like at this point, we got the final EIS, we've had the town hall, now what? And I think we really need to, instead of, it's great to go around the room, it's great to hear these opinions, but we need to be more solution-based. And I think we've been focused way too much on feelings and opinions, which are important. I want to make sure I know that, right? But now what? So I really, really would like us to take a vote, figure out what we want to do, and next steps.
Other comments and thoughts? I'm going to let folks who haven't spoke get the opportunity. Josephine.
So I definitely agree that we are definitely due for a vote on this. Something that I have not heard enough about are the rise in evictions with the PACT programs. The comptroller came out with a report in December 2024 about that there is a significant rise in evictions in these PACT programs. I'm very concerned about that. Councilman Botcher said that Letitia James' office is involved in this somehow. Are we going to hear from her office? We really need to know what's happening with that and some kind of answers. That would help inform a decision. I mean, we're all saying that, you know, we're looking out for these tenants, that they come first. This is why this whole plan was developed, whether you believe it or not. I mean, I'm not saying whether I do or not. I'm just saying that if we are to put them first, then we need answers about why that's happening.
Thanks. So at this point, if we want to go another set of rounds of responses and thoughts, we can do that. Karen, I saw your hand up, and Shanice, your hand is up as well. Oh, Mike Noble's hand is up, and we're going to Mike Noble next because we haven't heard from him yet. But I also want to make sure that we are transitioning to the public before we get into too much detail that gets to the point I think you're making, which is where do we go next? Let's go to Mike because we haven't heard from Mike yet.
Yeah, thanks. So just a note on what Inga was saying, you know, downsizing is in fact a problem that I'm facing, you know, now that my son's gone. But the issue is really called right sizing. And what Eric spoke most about was getting families into the right size apartment for them. You know, if you got 4 kids, 3 kids, you can't be living in a 1 bedroom. So the issue is that, you know, right sizing is a federal requirement, and I'm worried myself about losing a bedroom. So I'd like to know if there's a plan by NYCHA to ensure that apartments will be available to people, you know, as the need becomes, you know, for larger families to move into buildings where there aren't enough big apartments. And that's just my comment.
Thank you, Mike. So at this stage, I know folks have a second round of comments, but I'd like to get into the public at this point. So I'm going to put a pause on any follow-up from this body, and then make allowances for the public testimony. What I'm going to do is I'm going to call up the names that I see. If you're prepared to come up and testify, you'll have 2 minutes. And I'm just going to do the names. You may have signed up without identifying that you want to speak, and that's okay. You don't have to speak to. So I have the first 3 names: Crystal Luciano, Nicholas Nunez, and Tom Lunke are my first 3. Come on up. What's your name? Crystal, the floor is yours. You're going to have 2 minutes. I'm going to set the timer, okay? So you just introduce yourself, and we'll start from there. Yeah. There's sign-up sheets right behind us. Yep, I'll get that one in a second if you haven't signed up yet. I'm going to give you the mic. You're going to have 2 minutes. I'll have the clock right over here. You got to do it from here just because of the...
Here?
Yep, right from the Post-its. Okay.
All right. This is my first time coming to this committee meeting. It's the first time I come to this committee meeting. I've been living in the Elliott houses for 12 years. I have 2 children, age 15 and 12. My 12-year-old is autistic and has ADHD. Our first apartment, we lived in building 443, first floor. I have experience with having burst pipes from sewage water coming into our apartments. Our apartments are full of lead, black mold, and asbestos everywhere. I have legal documentation, not only from the attorney that I had to hire at the time that I had to sue NYCHA, but I also have photos and videos from 2018 up to present day. The apartments cannot be renovated. There is no way to renovate these apartments. Every single apartment in the Elliott houses are behind the walls full of black mold that we should not be inhaling. They do cause cancer. They have to be removed by New York State specialists. When housing comes to fix the apartments, they do not bring New York State specialists to remove this mold. All they do is they spray it, they plaster it, and it happens over and over and over again. I continuously hear people worried about their downsizing of apartments. There are a few mothers that I know who have 4 and 5 children, with 2 of them being disabled, living in a 1-bedroom apartment. I don't think that it's right. If you're an elderly person and you're just one person, you should not have 3 and 4 bedrooms. This is just the right thing to do. Families need to have better apartments. They have to have dignified living. I think that these buildings, to be honest with you, cannot be repaired. Our boiler systems do not work. They're broken. Our elevators are broken once a week, every single week. We're not nodding our head because it's true. It's broken every single week. Last week, they broke at 2 p.m. At 12:30 a.m. is when they came to fix the elevators. In my building, particularly, there are only elderly people, majority of them. On our floor, we're the only family who has children. Management is also irresponsible, and I just want to say that I am for the demolition, and we do need new buildings. These buildings cannot be fixed.
Thank you. And I have Nicholas and Tom are the next 2. Does Nicholas want to speak? Tom? Just introduce yourself. I'll give you 2 minutes.
Okay, Tom Lunke. Actually, Pamela, you said a lot of what I was going to say, so thank you for that. No, that's okay. You know, I'm just going to repeat some of what you said. So, you know, we hear a lot about that there won't be any displacement, but actually everyone will be displaced because everyone has to move out if their buildings are demolished. We're talking about using public property for private gain. We're talking about the loss of 370 mature trees in a climate crisis where our elected officials are claiming to be environmentalists. We're talking about the loss of acres of public open space because what would be replaced will be private, according to the FEIS. The proposed towers will break the historic scale of Chelsea and open up other blocks to potential tower development because once you rezone a big swath of Chelsea for towers, other sections of Chelsea could go the same way. We're threatening the socioeconomic and neighborhood character. The elected officials did not answer the questions about how they made their decisions in advance of a full engaged process and due diligence. We have a lesson of physics here. You can't cram more people into sites without destroying open space or creating super tall towers. And then I just want to thank all of you for your independence and original and principled positions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next up, I have Julia Ramos, followed by Jacqueline Lara. If you could introduce yourself, I'll put you on the clock 2 minutes, okay? Thank you so much.
Hi, my name is Julia, and I live in Fulton Houses with my 2 children, a 16-year-old and a 6-year-old. I was a New York City Department of Ed teacher for 10 years. After giving birth to my youngest, he was born with a disability. Some days he can't make it up the stairs, and if the elevator is broken, we sit in the hallway until they can fix it. We have 1 elevator. Then COVID came. We have no air ventilation system. So every one of these fancy new buildings had a less chance of dying. We became disproportionately disabled. I am no longer allowed to teach because of my heart condition. When the elevator is broken, I can't even make it up the stairs. Coming home with groceries, the elevator man said, well, that's not my problem. When I'm done, I'm done. So we sat on the floor and waited to get into our home. This year alone, my bathroom wall has fallen down to the floor twice. My cabinets debilitated. I was without cabinets for 6 months until I had to get Eric Botcher to come help me and finally get some damn cabinets in my home. You never know which way your life is going to turn. And it's easy to be on the other side in a beautiful, well-maintained private apartment and say, well, I don't want to be inconvenienced by the construction. I don't want my views blocked. So let them stay with the mold and the asbestos, the broken elevators, the infestations, the sewage bubbling out of my kitchen sink and flooding my apartment because I cannot be home because I'm schlepping around the city disabled with my disabled child. I have given so much to the city. I have taught countless children all over this city, 32 kids at a time. I've given my heart and my soul to this city, and I deserve to come home to an apartment that is not making us sick and an apartment that is accessible. My youngest is missing a piece of his 15th chromosome. And there's a good chance he may lose his ability to walk. And I need a home that he can get in and he can get out of. And my last thing I want to end with is there's a lot of misinformation going around. And it's coming from the private side, and it's scaring the public housing residents. And there's public housing residents saying things that they're hearing from the private residents. And we're voting against ourselves. And in the vote, which I was there for, we voted for this demolition.
Thank you, Julie. Thank you. Thank you. Jackie. Introduce yourself.
Hi, Jackie Lara from Fulton. I don't even know where to go with this anymore because our building should have been fixed a long time ago. All right, we've got so much technology. I mean, they could put sleeves in the plumbing, you know, knock down the walls. We could do this. We don't need no demolition because I believe inside that myself that we will not come back. You just don't get it. We're talking about a man that is the owner of Hudson Yards and the Miami Dolphins. This man is not going to want low-income families to live there in Fulton and Chelsea. So whatever apartments that NYCHA have that are free, those 10,000 apartments out there across the city, that's where we're going to be going. And they're going to say, yeah, you have the right to return. Yes, you're going to come back. But by then, you're going to be used to that other NYCHA apartment that you're going to be living in with the same problem. Because the fact is, they don't give a shit about us, none of these elected officials. I ran against TA president. I lost by 16 votes. I ran against Eric. 25% did not want demolition. What else? We've done everything what we can to make things right, and we're not winning at all. So you know what I'm proposing now? The vote. If this is what the residents really want is the demolition, let's have a real vote the way NYCHA's been giving to other developments. And I bet my life on it that all these residents that are saying that they want the demolition, it's not true. Maybe 40 people in Fulton wants demolition. I know all my residents. I've been there almost 23 years. But the rest of them, no, they don't. And I'm telling you, if we put in a real vote for this demolition, all the residents, majority in Fulton, are going to vote for no. Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie. I'm going to grab the mic. Thank you very much. Susan Marshall's up next, followed by Matt Robinson. 2 minutes. Time's right
Greg.
over here, okay?
Okay. I'm Susan Palmer Marshall, President of the Council of Chelsea Block Associations and Secretary of the 300 West 18th and 19th Street Block Association, directly across the street from Fulton Houses. The recent CB4 Town Hall, which I do thank you for hosting, and I watched live in London, highlighted to me and to others in the community a shift that we have observed. What began as an initiative centered on improving living conditions for NYCHA residents now appears increasingly focused on broader market rate development. My block association and several other CCBA member organizations have serious concerns. While the plan promises new housing for NYCHA residents, in practice, it consolidates them into 3 buildings per campus, separating them from the broader community and turning over most of the land to private market rate development, as you've heard. That's segregation by design, not mixed income integration. These buildings could be rehabilitated down to the gut. Yeah, I think we need to pause.
Pause for 1 second. Let's pause for 1 second. Okay.
Disrupted.
Pause for 1 second. Okay. Pause 1 second. Yeah.
Does she need some water?
Right? We're gonna take that. Got some water. Nice and cool. Nice and cool water. Okay. I wonder if we have.
Oh yeah, sugar too, just in case. I ate my big noodle.
Be right back. Right back. Comfortable chairs over on this side. Water.
I want my time back.
Okay, we're gonna start that. We're gonna start your time over again. Okay.
She was very emotional.
Well,
I hope
she's
she's
being
okay.
taken care of
I
right
hope
now.
she's okay. Yeah.
We're wishing her some comfort. So what we're gonna do is introduce yourself one more time. I'm gonna give you a full 2 minutes.
Okay, I'm not going to start over from the
Okay.
beginning though. Okay. I'm Susan Palmer Marshall, and I'm, as you know, president of CCBA and also secretary of the 300 West 18th and 19th Streets Block Association. We've heard about the destruction of 370 mature trees. We've heard about tall towers, which go against the height and density requirements, or what has been fought for so long in Chelsea on the Chelsea plan, or Chelsea 197A, that would permanently alter the scale, light, and livability of our neighborhood. We've spent decades fighting for thoughtful and contextual development, and all of that has the potential to be erased. And let's be clear, I know we're concerned about the tenants, but I don't think anybody's thinking about the impact this is going to have on the taxpayers. Thousands of new market rate residents will strain the Chelsea's infrastructure, transit, sanitation, emergency services, and schools with no clear plan or funding to meet the increased demand. I just want to also say that we're very grateful to you, the CLU Committee, HHSS, and CB4, and for continuing to fight for the communities you serve, not just Chelsea, but Hell's Kitchen and Clinton, and the NYCHA residents and the people of Chelsea deserve better than what is currently on the table. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Matt is up next. From right there would be great. 10 o'clock on this side. Just introduce yourself.
Okay, my name's Matt Robinson, and a couple of things. One, in terms of the numbers that I've heard, one thing that they said was that there would be 1,000 new affordable units. If there are 1,000 new affordable units that are being added to this, that means that there's another 3,000 units that are market value. So the density is incredibly great. Also, the existing buildings are 8'6", plus or minus an inch, in terms of slab to slab. The new buildings will be 10 feet or so slab to slab. So when it's not that they're taking a building that's 24 stories presently and adding another 15 stories. What you're adding is the 15 stories, but at a greater thickness and on top of it. So don't think that it's just adding another 15 stories. It's as if you're adding another 30 stories, if that makes sense based on the numbers. Also, I have not heard in terms of some of the adjoining property, like the block 715, in terms of using it for eminent domain and taking some of those taxpayers and using that block for additional development, and also maybe changing the time frame from 16 years to maybe 10 years. In addition to that, I've got concerns with the school being undersized, and that there are a lot, and I'm concerned that the Hudson Guild, which is a specialty building, a specialty use, might be increasing the size of that building as a special taxpayer thing, that it's going to be a 40-story building because on the base of it is going to be the Hudson Guild, and so that they're going to be able to add even more stories to it. So there's a couple of questions like that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I had Lydia next, and then I had Alexa. Do you want to come up now? Come on up, and we'll circle back.
My name is Alexa, and I've been here for many years, since 1969. And I would love to live lovely, like the people that live in these high rises. But there's a trick to it, because once you turn over the apartment from the public to the private, they're going to give you 5 to 20 years contract. And after that, they're going to start charging a minimum for the studio apartment is $3,000. And nobody with low income will be able to afford the rent. So please do your researches. And I've had asbestos in my apartment, and they cleared it in my apartment years ago. That can be fixed. It could be fixed by NYCHA, but I believe in Section 9, the public, because there's federal money, there's state money, but I heard that they were using the city money or something like that. I don't know. But there is money for repairing our apartments. You know, I feel bad that people are going through stuff in their apartments. It's because NYCHA did not do those repairs, because billions of dollars were given to NYCHA, and that 70 employees with the corruption, which I believe that people, there are more people in NYCHA that are corrupted and that are still investing. And under the elected officials, I don't believe in them. I'm sorry to say, I don't believe in none of them. They're all lies. They give you false promises. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I have Victoria. Is there a Victoria who wants to speak? Okay. You have 2 minutes. Just introduce yourself. Do it on mic. Do it on mic.
Hi, everyone. My name is Victoria. I agree with Crystal. We lived in the same building. I had the same exact problems. I kept calling maintenance workers. They wouldn't help me. So I pretty much just go with what Crystal said. I went through it. The roaches in the cabinets, they jump at you. I don't invite anyone at home, at my house, because it's too embarrassing. This floor here, you see, we have towels. If you was to walk in my house, you'd think you was out there in the ocean. I had to fight to get that fixed. And yeah, basically that's it. Like what Crystal was going through. And I'm for the new development.
Thank you. Lydia?
Hi, Lydia Andre, Chelsea Neighbors Coalition. Thank you again for everything you guys did for the town hall. I want to encourage every member on the committee to fact check what the elected officials said. I'm sorry to report to you that if you do so, you will find they are grossly inaccurate. on both technical things and other substantive issues, including who will own the buildings. And I have an issue, with that getting passed on here because they are inaccurate about that. I also want to say that I hear what these ladies came to say today, and I want to remind everybody that no one believes the current situation of the NYCHA houses is acceptable. We have all, those of us who are not for the demolition completely support comprehensive, complete rehabilitation. And I want to ask you all, how are you monitoring the bridge plan? Why are these ladies having the problems they're having? I'll tell you why. Because once again, NYCHA and the developer are already not performing on their promises, just like our elected officials will not be able to perform on all their elaborate claims about what they plan to do at ULURP. We are on our own here, and we need the help of this committee. I do encourage you to take a vote. I encourage you to push for a vote of the residents. I think we have to ask ourselves, how do we know what we think we know? And we need to ask the elected officials, how do they know what they think they know? And I think those answers are really important. All right, thank you.
Thank you. We'll grab the mic. Thank you. I have Carol. Carol. And you're after Renee, after Carol. Okay. Just introduce yourself. I'll monitor the time for you. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Carol Ott. I'm the president of the 300 West 20th Street block. I've been involved in this controversy for a long time at this point. I very much appreciate what the NYCHA residents said tonight. I think everyone is in agreement that the buildings that they deserve, as everybody does, to live in an apartment that is habitable. The RFP proved by 3 developers submitting proposals that the buildings could be rehabilitated to be made habitable. I think the controversy at this point is not whether they should or should not, but how that happens. I want to urge the board, in consideration of whether they're going to support or not support, or if they're going to take a vote or not take a vote, to also consider the surrounding community, which I don't think the EEIS statement did. The NYCHA houses is a vibrant and vital part of our community, but there is a community beyond also the NYCHA. There will be traffic, there will be pedestrian, there will be environmental issues, there will be sewage, there will be trash pickup, lots of questions that I don't see any answers to. It sounds like whining when I'm concerned about trash pickup compared to what some of these women have been saying about their apartments. But it is a part of the community, and they will also have issues with trash pickup. So I too would like the board to take a vote. Whether it'll be significant or not, I don't know. And it seems like the process is barreling along no matter what anybody says. I do just want to I appreciate very much your summation of the town hall, but like the presidential debates, I do think things need to be fact checked. And I think a lot of what the elected said was incorrect.
Thank you. Renee? Introduce yourself first.
Oh, my name is Renee Kitt. I am the Resident Association President of the Elliott Chelsea Houses. Thank you for coming here, Crystal, because I did what you said. When I came around and asked you to sign a petition, you said maybe you should run for president. So I did. Thank you. I took your advice. No one should be living in the conditions that were just described here. But we need to discuss why it's happened. We have 10,000 apartments in NYCHA that are vacant, 214 alone in Elliott, Chelsea, and Fulton that have been left to become vacant. We need to ask the question why people are moving from Fulton into Elliott, Chelsea, why they're trying to get the seniors out of Chelsea Addition to demolish a building which will exacerbate a so-called housing crisis, which I don't really see. I see a vacancy crisis. I see a livability crisis, because I'm not going to call it affordable housing when it starts at $100,000. It's a joke. We need to be very honest. The disinvestment is real. We could have been invested in. Comprehensive modernization under Section 9 could have happened. The decision was not to do that. The decision was not to invest in the people. This is where we're at. Neutrality gets you nowhere. Good people being neutral gets you nowhere. Remember Dr. King? Remember what he says about neutral people. You need to make decisions. No matter what, we will bear the brunt of everything. We know this. It's what we always have done.
Thank you, Renee. Thank you. I have Samir and Christine. You ready? Here we go. So we're public testimony. Go ahead. 2 minutes. You just nearby. That's okay. Just introduce yourself first, and then we're going to put this on 2 minutes. There you go.
All right. Hello. My name is Samir Lavingia. Thank you, first of all, for the very helpful summary of the town hall. It's my first time speaking on this issue, believe it or not, first time speaker. But I am in the neighborhood. You know, every Saturday I go to the Chelsea Recreation Center. You know, I come from a family of renters. I live in a little close further up in Midtown. My parents live in Midtown. My brother and his wife and his kid live in Dumbo. We're all market rate renters, and we have a severe housing crisis. My income and my friend's income actually qualify us for a number of 50 to 80% AMI units, but there simply aren't enough units in the city. We try for the lottery, and we could just simply never get it. We want to stay in New York, and we need more units at all income levels, especially income restricted units. I'm a huge supporter of the project. I believe it'll bring many new mixed income homes and new homes for existing residents as well. I watched a presentation from the City Club that was actually super helpful. There was the City of Yes rezoning that basically gets us to most of the way through what they're even asking for in the rezoning. And I believe that if we want to be influential and make the project better, it's important to get it into the ULURP process. The council member, he used that to get rid of the casino. He has a track record. And I believe that if he is saying that he can get more affordable homes, that he's telling the truth. I think that we should make sure that when we're looking at the plan, it's not a redevelopment or no redevelopment. It's a redevelopment with the City of Yes proposal or a redevelopment with more affordable units. Those are the real options. New Yorkers being able to stay here matters more than trees, neighborhood character, traffic, or views. We need to prioritize the very real issues that people have brought up, and every day we wait means more people are priced out of this city or have to live in substandard conditions. I encourage you to speak in favor of getting this into the ULURP process to give everyone more time, through that mandated process and to get as many affordable units built in the city. Thank you.
Literally on time. Christine, you're up next. We're going to do it from here. Just introduce yourself first, okay?
Thank you. Christine Berthet. I'm the co-chair of Transportation Committee at CB4 and a resident of Hell's Kitchen for 45 years. I want to change the subject a little bit and talking about solution, talk about strategy. What do we do from now? We are all in pain from hearing the situation of the tenants. They are our neighbors. I don't know that if your neighbor on your same, floor in your apartment was living like that, you would accept that. They are just in a separate building. So I want to talk about that. When I started at the community board fighting against the stadium, and at the time, we fought against the stadium and all our electeds were with us. We were saying, no, 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 but then everybody was with us. The difference here is we've been saying no, at least some people, a lot of people have been saying no, but our elected are not with us. That's the single more important thing I heard in the presentation, is that both of our elected said, we cannot go back. We are not going back. So I think we need to take stock of this situation and say, how do we navigate in a situation which is pretty unusual, where the community board is not aligned with the elected? And without making a decision about demolition or not, I believe it is critical that we establish a list of demands that we give to Eric Botcher and let him negotiate that with the developers, right? Can I get a little more? Yeah.
You can close out. Go ahead.
Right. So anyway, that's, I think, the next step. First of all, we don't have the time. The train has left the station. They are negotiating. They are doing everything, I know. And then so we don't have the time. We don't have the support. It is critical that we establish a list of things we absolutely must have and give it to them.
Thank you. I'm going to take the mic, though. That's great. Thank you very much. Thank you to everybody in person for your testimony. We're now switching to online testimony. Who do we have, Jesse? Boy, oh boy. Boy, oh boy. Remember that applause he got earlier? I don't know. Question mark. At the same, we want to do it at the same time. Okay. And Hector, I see your hand up, but we're just going to go to folks who haven't spoken yet from the public side. Okay. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. First person up, give me a name. Oh, okay, you got it. Okay, thank you. I cleared it. Lizette Cologne. We're going to start with you. You got 2 minutes when you're ready.
Yes, Tito Delgado will speak on my behalf. Go for it.
So my name is Tito Delgado. I grew up in public housing. I come from the Lower East Side, and that neighborhood has been totally gentrified. This is an old playbook. They starve people. They tell them that they're living in bad condition caused by them, and then they use that as a justification to take private land, public land, and put it in the pockets of the private real estate industry. We all know that this is a land grab. We all know it. But however, they got very slick with the tenants and they changed the rules. You know, all of a sudden it was a bait and switch. And that's what's happening here, is a bait and switch. Now, I've been on the community board on the Lower East Side for many years. I know that your role is the role of recommendation, but that will go a long way to try to stop this train. Certainly, I no longer live in public housing. I live in Penn South, and it's a great place. I'm directly across the street from public housing. And I like the people there. I've been working with the people there. They're my people. And the thing is that the demolition of these buildings will cause terrible environmental issues for the people at Penn South. The people at Penn South, this is a NORC, National Occurring Retirement Community. We got many, many older people here. We're going to get sick from this poisoning, from this asbestos and everything else. We know the buildings are structurally sound.
That's time. That's time. Thank you very much. Thank you. Let's go to, I see John Mudd. John, when you're ready, you have 2 minutes. Just introduce yourself.
Yes, thank you. John Mudd, Midtown South Community Council, and thank you for having this consideration. By the way, Samir is from Community Board 5, and he's an open New York person, and to have him on there to speak to this is just
that's not the conversation we're having here. So.
All right, continue. The Community Board 4 went just as expected, really. I wrote you guys a letter cherry picking the audience questions and passively supporting the elected officials' efforts to soldier on a project that would demolish public housing and give a large swath of land to developers was not the winning strategy to manage the crowd. The major stabilizing factor for people is their home. The callous, short-sighted, slow gentrification plan for Elliott, Chelsea, and Fulton campuses is an existential threat to those who live there and to us all. We will not sit passively as a profit-motivated machination to uproot the 370 mature trees, strip away playgrounds, segregate folks into a corner, create a hot box of noise and pollution for the next 15 to 20 years to densify the Chelsea area and build a luxury skyscraping towers that leads to gentrification of our neighbors from their homes. Now, we've been over this so many times. I mean, this is clear. We need your support as a community board. You're a community board. That's what we need. You need to be behind the community. Okay, you being passive is supporting the developers, and none of the political parties have our best interest on this public housing. We got 10,000 plus apartments. They should be filled. A long-term demolition plan to enrich the rich. I mean, the potential to harm one human cannot be tolerated. And if the life has the value that it should with our political leaders, we would have those 10,000 plus apartments.
Thank you, John. Time. I have a Leonard. Leonard, 2 minutes. Just introduce yourself and you can start.
Thank you. Leonard Paletta, and I live in Penn South. My comments really are directed at the tenants and the community board. Thank you for the town hall. That was very good. But I think that we have to remember that the history of this project is based on sand, because people talk about what the stakeholders want. And the issue of what the tenants want really needs to be determined by an informed vote. What was done, the survey that was conducted was totally insufficient. People were not informed as to what they were voting on, and not everybody voted or even understood it to be a vote. And frankly, when both Assemblymember Simone and Councilmember Botcher said they wouldn't back this plan if it didn't have majority support, there is absolutely no way of understanding what the residents want. And that is the bottom line of what the Housing Authority should be concerned with, and what Community Board 4 should be concerned with. What do the majority of the tenants want? And I urge you to support an effort to have an independent vote taken of the tenants to determine in a meaningful way what they really do want. Now, clearly, a majority vote is what the council member said he will is determinative. So I think essentially we can't do without a real democratic vote. 950 tenants have opposed demolition. So
thank you, Leonard. Thank you. Christina? Did I lose Christina? Christina,
Hi.
go ahead. Introduce
Good
yourself and
evening.
you have 2 minutes. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Christina Chase. I'm a resident of Ravenswood Houses here in Queens, where I'm also part of the Resident Association. And I'm also an organizer with Justice for All Coalition, where we fight for tenants' rights and protection, especially NYCHA residents. I'm here today because I really want to urge the importance of you guys as a community board. I'm also on my community board, but of course I'm here to speak on behalf of myself. But it's, even if we're in an advisory role, it's super important to really stand up against a plan that we know is predatory and not actually beneficial to both NYCHA residents and the community at large. Beyond the hurt and harm that it can do to families and the destabilization of the community at large, I'm also concerned about what it means for our mature trees. I don't, it's incommensurable. All lives matter here in terms of like our families as well as our trees. I know that sounds I it breaks my heart for us to not really see that our NYCHA developments are the lungs to New York City, especially our larger developments like Chelsea and Fulton. Even here in Ravenswood, our trees are the lungs to help filtering the air and to take away all these mature trees and put all these tall buildings, which just exacerbate or the city urban heat effect. It just, we are feeling the heat now. Imagine in 10, 20, 30 years. We really need to be smart and strategic, and demolition's not part of an environmentally sound plan. It'll harm both the environment and the community. And so I just wanted to echo that and thank you for your time. I would love to be of service in any way, and maybe I can send an email. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Marnie, you're up next. If you could introduce yourself, you have 2 minutes.
Okay, sure. Hi, everybody. Marnie Halasa. I just wanted to let everybody know that Pix 11 was at this was there at the senior building today. A lot of the seniors talked to the reporter Greg Mocker about how they're being harassed by HOU, and so many of them are very, very upset. Also, Gothamist David Brandt did an article also about the same issue, that the seniors are being harassed. So I mean, I don't know, but I just feel like I'm hearing everybody speak. And one very, very clear message is that the community board is really doing nothing. I mean, many of the seniors said that they go to the community board meetings, they talk to their elected officials, and then like nothing is done. And it's almost as if they don't exist. So one thing that I think I'm hearing, not just myself, but other people say, is that the community board has to come out with like a strong like recommendation that this demolition is and privatization is really bad for the community. But you guys need to have some teeth, and you got to like say something like loud and proud, because just that I think a lot of NYCHA tenants are saying, basically feeling that, they come to you guys and then you guys don't do anything. So that's one thing that I think is important. Also, Fight for NYCHA, we have a lawsuit now suing NYCHA and the city. It's going through, the process right now. One of the main issues is that that this whole situation needs to go through ULURP because it's a city, not a state project. But also the other argument we make is that, why was the initial RFP allowed? Why wasn't there another RFP? There should have been a second RFP, since it was so materially different than the first. Like first there was like just renovations, no demolition. And then all of a sudden, there's, demolition. So that's materially different.
Thank you, Marnie.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Marnie.
Fight the power, people.
Thank you, Marnie. Salinas, 2 minutes. If you introduce yourself, I can start the clock.
Salinas Miranda, second vice president from the Elliott Houses. The town hall gave a platform to the elects to continue to enforce the false script that they have been given since the beginning. They say they are not going back because they never intended to go in any other direction. They have a plan and will not divert. To say the survey was higher than local election isn't reasonable. We are not voting for a president. We are talking about a mass demolition in Chelsea. I want to see the records that prove all of these claims that a few residents are making. I don't have mold. My apartment is in good condition, and NYCHA is supposed to right size now. Demolition is not a necessity to right size. They say these buildings cannot be fixed, means you are not in architecture and don't know the procedures in rehabbing buildings. Bellevue Hospital, who's 289 years old and still up and running, tending to the sick. When my elevator breaks down, they fix it within the hour. New York City housing provides emergency transfer for the handicapped. Request a letter from the doctor for a 504 transfer. I know a tenant that got moved into our Elliott buildings because we have elevators. She's happy with her apartment and the accessibility. Elected officials, are you watching these CB4 meetings? You're supposed to, if you really wanted to hear our voices. The DEIS, in which the tenants and the Chelsea community dominated the conversation, all saying they do not want demolition. Even at the town hall, the whole room dominated the chant of no demolition. We are being ignored. I thought the AG office was in support of the FEC tenants against demolition. How are they working with the elects and NYCHA? Germani said he questions the survey and should request a vote. We all question the survey. The elects are ignoring our petition of over 950 signatures, but say the residents want this on only 550 tenants who chose demolition on a non-legally binding
Salinas,
survey.
this time. This time.
I wanted to say real quick,
Quickly, Salinas.
to CB4, thank you for all your efforts in asking questions and insisting on responses. Your work and efforts are appreciated.
Thank you, Salinas. Luana Green, 2 minutes. If you introduce yourself, you can start. Luana Green.
Thank you. Yes, thank you. Hi, everybody. Thank you, CB4, for holding this meeting. And thank you, Jessica, for you doing an awesome job at the town hall. I know it was a hard thing to do. My name is Luana Green, and I live in Penn South. I've been a resident of Chelsea for over 50 years. I lived in Elliott Chelsea houses for over 40 years. So I know what those buildings are like. I know the demographics of the people that live there. And I think Susan Palmer had hit something on the head. NYCHA has always been, from its inception, segregated properties, right? And I think this is segregation by design as well. I want to say that there are things going on in NYCHA right now. They have renovated apartments. They have televisions. They have asbestos removal that's legally done and monitored by OSHA right now going on in Elliott Chelsea houses. If a person has such a problem in their apartment, I don't see why NYCHA cannot move this person into one of those renovated apartments that's already available, that they're waiting to put some elderly person in, separate that person from their community, from their environment, and put them in an unsafe, unknown place. I think what's going on here is a travesty. If it was another kind of community, a white community, I'm saying that. I think it's gentrification. I think it's prejudice. I think it's segregation. I think that because of the land also, that's why they're doing what they're doing. And I think it's a travesty. It's a travesty for us to have a conversation about people, I want to say, human beings losing their homes for private developers and luxury housing. It's not fair. It's not right. Only because they are a marginalized community, because they're working class people. Housing, New York City housing has been through this throughout its inception, and it has to stop. And I think it stops with you. So thank you so much for my time.
Thank you. Missy Adams, 2 minutes. Introduce yourself. Go ahead.
Yes, hi. Thanks for having this meeting. I agree with Tito and Leonard and many others. I think that everything about this project feels like a scam. I was at the town hall and Jessica was a terrific moderator, but she struggled with the disruptions and it was distracting. And while it was a treat to have the electeds at a meeting finally, it felt like they were posturing and the responses were canned, not particularly revealing. And I'd like to respond to comments that the buildings must come down. Both the buildings and communities could be spectacular if they were properly maintained. Fix them. No new buildings needed. Right now, NYCHA is barely maintaining it all, trying to push the needle towards demolition. All the residents have to do, all of them have a right to livable buildings. Maintenance is key. And if the electeds don't step up, the tenants should band together, sue NYCHA, and refuse to pay rent. It's absolutely untenable that they have unlivable apartments. But maintenance is everything. I live in an 1840s building. You have to constantly maintain and rehab. You don't need new buildings. If you think a development is the answer, look over to Brooklyn and Atlantic Yards. Only the luxury housing got built and there were no repercussions to the developer. Do you think they're really going to favor the Section 8 housing? No. How do we stop this train? I do wonder if these meetings are having any effect on the planned demo, which seems to be going forward despite considerable opposition. In which case, why are we having meetings? Wouldn't it be better to protest by opting out or come out with a statement on this? I encourage the community board to take a stand, and the next steps need to be outlined. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And our last online participant, Barbara Montalvo. When you introduce yourself, I'll start the time.
Hello. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Barbara Montalvo. I'm a mother of 6, all of which have asthma, and we reside in Building 11 at the Fulton Houses. In 2022, I applied for a medical transfer after rodents and mice and baby rats contaminated our food, bedding, and destroyed our couches, shoes, and clothing. The infestation worsened by asthma, and I have to take Symbicort twice a day, as well as have had many emergency room visits with myself and my children. The transfers were paused in 2022, where I provided medical documentation for said transfer and was not allowed to move. And HOU, in essence, quoted that it was NYCHA who paused the transfers, and I was at a standstill. Now I'm being told there are no 4-bedroom units available at the Fulton Houses, despite having a large family and needing adequate space. Yet there are 169 vacant NYCHA apartments in Fulton and Chelsea Elliott, over 8,600 vacant apartments in NYCHA citywide. Why are families like mine not being prioritized? Recently, I was rushed to sign a lease at Chelsea Elliott without the lawyer that NYCHA promised me being present. The lawyer only called me once and showed little care when I explained to her that the apartment that I was shown and promised would be Section 9 under NYCHA is actually Section 8. I have asked for things to be documented and seeked resources to provide furniture assistance, but NYCHA nor Essence would provide such. Now that I've spoken up for myself and advocated and CC'd someone they didn't care to have involved in the emails, they have been short with their responses and very cold. I've been a strong advocate for better housing at Fulton and supporting the demolition when I believe that it meant healthier homes, larger bedrooms, bigger living spaces, dishwashers, washing machines, dryers, and amenities for our families and children. But now the plan at NYCHA over here at Fulton and Chelsea Elliott plans to cram all of the smaller buildings and all the residents into 3 smaller buildings, which I don't think is fair to us. Also, I wanted to say that rat impact sites have a 5-time eviction higher.
Time's up, Barbara.
Well, they evict 57% of people versus
Thank you, Barbara.
12% at NYCHA. Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. Thank you. And I see Caitlin Cahill has joined us. Caitlin, are you ready? When you're ready, I will start the time.
Yes, I'm ready. Hi. My name is Caitlin Cahill, and I'm a long-term resident of Chelsea. I grew up here in high school, live in Penn South, and I am opposed to the demolition. The demolition of 24 buildings is a big deal. This is a Robert Moses urban renewal move, what James Baldwin called Negro removal. We're seeing it now here, 50 years later. Related Companies has a track record as a bad actor misusing tax dollars. It's not hyperbolic to suggest that they are real estate oligarchs of New York City who are bulldozing through our democratic process and not held accountable. I implore for Community Board 4 to hold them accountable. This is our role. We see oligarchs running our country, and this is true at the city level too. And it means that we need to also hold our elected officials accountable. Related, the developer of Hudson Yards, as you know, received a $1.2 billion as a distressed urban area bankrolled on EB-5 visa program using the footprint of NYCHA campuses in Harlem and East Harlem to build luxury housing, not affordable housing. Why are we entrusting them? Why is there a $1.9 billion no bid contract for them? Please, Community Board 4 and our elected officials, we need you to actually be accountable to the community. I loved what Barbara just said. I appreciate what, so many of the folks who have spoken before. We need to know that 950 people of Fulton, Elliott, Chelsea have signed a petition against this. Please, listen to our community, not to these billion-dollar oligarchs. I also, what else do I want to say? There's so much to say. I want to say thank you, and please.
And that's
you know,
time.
have
That's time.
teeth,
Thank you very
do
much.
you know,
Thank you very
listen to
much.
the community. And
Thank you,
also
Caitlin.
just, I also teach at Pratt Institute.
Thank you, Caitlin. That's
an
time.
Architecture Planning Design School, where my students learn the common sense that
Caitlin, thank you.
demolition
We're
and
going to wrap.
construction
We got one
are the
more. speaker.
primary
Thank
contributors.
you, Caitlin. Thank you. Okay. I'm going to use chair's discretion to make a
Did he just hang up? Hello?
space for the public to testify. And in the one circumstance where we didn't do that, we did receive feedback that that was not something that was desirable either. So on that note, I am going to use the chair's discretion to make allowance for one more. Now, following that, I'm going to turn the mic over to Maria. And Maria, I'm going to ask you on behalf of the HHS committee to talk through some of the discussion points that your committee has voted on as a way of beginning the conversation as to how it is we can think about next steps. That said, for this particular body, as much as I would like to put us in a position, as we would like to be in a position to be able to hammer out clarity, let's be honest with each other. Given everything that's been discussed throughout the course of this journey together, given everything we are and are not, given the urgency that has been reflected, and the reality that there is something in progress related to the possibility of demolition, the truth of the matter is, while it is certainly true that we have to be reactive, we also have to be somewhat strategic in terms of how it is that we prioritize. And before I turn it over to our last speaker, I want to say one more thing. To those folks who have been in this room together tonight to talk and to share and online, thank you. This has been a thoughtful, engaging information. You know, we've received the information. And I want to express and I want to appreciate that. I do want to say one thing. On behalf of this committee and this community board, we have been dedicated for a long time to receiving feedback, insight, and seeking to ask questions and get answers over and over and over again. And while it may be true that that's not perceived as standing up for what is right, the reality is it's been our effort to try to understand how we could make a difference. Because this is significant, this is transformational, and we're talking about people's lives. So on that note, I just want to say thank you to everybody who's in this room. And I want to say thank you to everybody who's online. And whether you're in favor or not in favor, or you're in favor of 1/8 of what we're talking about, or you're in favor of 7/8 of what we're talking about, thank you for being present. And to this committee, just straight up for our new members, I mean, literally, we've got 3 new people at this table. We got a returner around this group. We have tried for a long time to be responsive, thoughtful, and respectful, and we've created an environment to be able to do that. And while I understand the time and get it completely, and while I understand the need to come up with decisions, the truth of the matter of this is, there is no conceivable way that we were going to be able to hammer out the most significant things we have to talk about right now. On that note, I'm going to give the mic over to Milagros Lugo for the final 2 minutes. Then Maria, we're going to hand it off to you. But when we're online, and then you're up, okay? Milagros, if you can hear me and you're ready to start, you've got 2 minutes.
Yes. I would like to shed light. I'm a longtime resident of Chelsea Elliott, and I would like to shed light that the real light should shine on the truth. And we all know the truth, and we all know the image that surrounds our community. We are a community and always have been a community, and we will fight strong to the end. The majority of us don't want the demolition. And this story has been going on and on and on for a very long time, that people are already sick and stressed. The majority here are seniors. And till this day, I'm not gonna keep not saying it. Till this day, my mother's 80 years old. No one has knocked on our door, inspected our place, or spoken to my mother as head of household. Okay, what you allowed to have them put monitors in the lobbies for what? To show us what we're getting without our voices being heard, our concerns. We need all of this to stop. So the last thing I want to say, Miss Jackie Laura.
No individual commentary. No, we're not pointing out individuals.
I want to state statistics.
We're not pointing out individuals.
No, I want to state statistics. She won the vote in the community. She won the vote in Chelsea Elliott and the vote in Fulton. That's what I want to say. And I applaud her. So let's shed light, and let's shed light on the truth. Thank you. I appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you. And on that note, we're going to close the online testimony. Public testimony has come to an end. Thank you, everyone who participated thoughtfully. Much appreciated. And I apologize to Milagros for jumping in. I was trying to avoid the individual commentary that happens sometimes. That I understood as a support. Maria, I want to pass the floor to you. Let people know who you are and what you and your committee have been talking about.
So I'm standing here so you all online can see me. I'm Maria Ortiz, co-chair of Housing, Health, and Human Services. Sometimes I get comments like I did today that I look familiar. It could be because I was born and raised in Chelsea and Hell's Kitchen, and my grandmother actually lived at 466 West 26th Street, and she moved her. I have her application from 1958. Okay, and my mother and my aunt were raised there. I'm gonna come off camera because I wrote down some notes. And so what's happening here personally is really important for me, but in my role as co-chair of Housing, Health, and Human Services, I feel like I really am I need to represent the community, despite what my personal opinions are about this. If you wanna know my personal opinions, we can talk about that separately. Just a few things before I mention what Housing, Health, and Human Services did our last meeting. Committee members, you're all aware because you received the document. I hope you had some time to look over it. If not, I'm gonna mention the 9 points very briefly. But first, I just wanted to give some feedback to some of the things that were said today. Hector mentioned opinions, and I just need to highlight there is a difference between opinions and facts. And opinions are opinions, and sometimes they can be misinformed, right? But facts are not things that are misinformed. They're just facts, okay? So I hope that today in the discussion, to Shanice's point, there are lots of feelings, right, happening here and opinions, and that will continue to occur. But I do agree with you. Moving forward, the discussion really needs to be solutions focused. Okay, and what you all are going to be agreeing on. Josephine, you're correct. There is a rise in eviction rates when it is the comptroller's report. You all can see that it is online. There are also some articles about like why that could be the case, right? The other thing was David Holoka mentioned a slim down short-term working group that we've discussed. I don't know how long ago we first discussed that, but I do believe that needs to happen, and that's something I'm bringing up again, okay? And last, Mike Noble did mention the right sizing, and one of the things that we've talked about is not losing the large size units that already exist at the campuses, right? That's important, and including the square footage. Going to what we talked about as the committee, and Roberta's here. She does a lot of heavy lifting usually during our committee meetings, and really supportive and helpful. So if you need to add anything after, please do. So the 9 or 10 things that we agreed on that needs to happen here and voted on. Maintain the schedule of repairs, focus on resident concerns, hold a vote at each campus by a third party, accept the possibility of a separate plan for each campus, have NYCHA maintain ownership of the land, that there be at least at least 50% affordable housing. That's separate from the NYCHA units. And no loss of family size units. I said that already. Number 7, clear up misinformation and ensure transparency. Number 8 was a section about community facilities, including a new Hudson Guild, a new and expanded Pier 33, a nonprofit healthcare center in the community, and number 9, Chelsea community is part of the redevelopment process, so incorporating the Chelsea community in that. Did I say this one? A temporary relocation plan and process protecting tenants' rights?
You did not say that, but that is critical.
Okay. And that was the 9 of them. Roberta, you can fact check me, please.
Got to be on, Roberta, you got to be on mic if you're going to, yeah, there you go.
Sorry, that was not the most effective effort. Just that the order of them was an important thing that we discussed in the committee, and that enforcing the bridge plan and having the board ultimately like focus on ensuring that the tenants' rights as well as the bridge plan are ultimately enforced should be at the center of this. I think there was also a discussion of supporting whatever the tenants are seeking to do, whether it be demolition or reconstruction.
Mm-hmm. And what do you, community?
Go ahead, Paul. What were you adding? You were adding something to what they said?
Well, which is the last one I mentioned, right? The tenants' protections. There was an additional one. Excuse
Just
me.
check.
There's
Yeah, let's not miss the one. Thank you, Paul.
And which bullet point are you? The entire. I said that. That was the last one.
Say it one more time.
Excuse me. I'll repeat it in case y'all didn't hear me. The entire Chelsea community is part of any proposed redevelopment process. Okay.
Can I have my sheet back? He's like, can I have my sheet back?
Well, you have the document in, I don't know, you sent them an email with the document. And it's probably in the Dropbox as well.
The land use committee has that that information, has that set. Now, if I understand correctly, the HHS group, committee voted on that.
Yes, we did.
Okay, so what's your next step? You voted on it and now
thank you for moving me along. So what we had decided was we voted on that. We did not decide to take a position on this project. And we said we would reconvene in September for our normal meeting and discuss it at that time. And I did hear what some members here said about taking a position. And I feel I cannot speak to that alone, right? I represent a committee and we did not vote on that.
And if I understand correctly, again, this is based on my understanding, the sense was you were voting on that with the opportunity to continue your conversation about it in preparation for what could be a September meeting vote.
Yes. And really what's really important here is what you are all also having as points that you think are really critical. Like we came together having those kinds of things. In the document, you'll see that we left a section that we would like clue you all to weigh in on.
And I'll pass the mic in 1 second. I guess I just want to add the following thing. It's important to be mindful that that is the HHS committee's discussion points. There was one point in there, and you can see this in the content, where they sort of note and say, this is something they want Chelsea land use to weigh in on. We may have different points of view, not necessarily on those, but on different issues that we need to believe or that we need to weigh in on. So I just want to note that, and I want to note that for the community and for the record. In some cases, some of the content that is being spoken of in terms of concerns for individual tenants might be appropriate for HHS, and you may have captured it. And then there may be content that's related to development or the economics that may be more appropriate for Chelsea land use to weigh in on. So the hope here is that we could perhaps come up with clarity with our two committees so that what we put forward is crystal clear. And I would suggest it may not be one document, but it may be a series of votes that the board makes that says these are the dozen expectations that we have. because, and I think it's important for us to be mindful of this. I know that's painful to think about, but we've also done things that had a lot of stuff, and that gets hard to wrap our heads around. I also just want to make note of one or two things. Yes, time urgency, absolutely. And also, we recognize that we are an advisory body, so we have to be mindful of that. And the other thing to just say is, timeline-wise, just for the record, can you give us the board meeting schedule just so everyone's aware? Because some folks don't know that we're not meeting as in August.
Yeah, so we have a full board in 2 days, and then we are off in August, and then you pick back up in September. The first committee would be we have a full board at the beginning of September. Historically, that has really only dealt with the one committee that meets over the summer, which is BLP. So it's usually a very short and small meeting. And then you have regular committee meetings throughout September. So you'd have housing, and then you have CLU, exec. Historically, something like this size that has to do with multiple committees would need to go through exec. And then you would have your October meeting, which is, and David actually said it correctly, is actually on September 30th due to the holidays, the Jewish holidays. There's questions about the schedule?
Can I just say something that I forgot to say? Whether you're online or here in this room and you attended the town hall, thank you so much for attending. Whether or not what your opinion is, what your position is, thank you for being present.
So I'm going to give some time now for folks to weigh in. Now, recognizing on the clock, it is now 9. We have 30 minutes. I think we need to isolate to 2-minute commentary upon reflection based on what we've discussed thus far.
I'd like to go back to the schedule just for a minute.
Sure.
There is not another HHHS meeting until the day after the September 3rd full board meeting. I think we should start talking about having a joint meeting of HHHS and CLU before the September 3rd full board meeting so that we can all vote on a position, because otherwise we're waiting until September 30th. And I think there has to be a joint meeting anyway. And September 30th, that could be only 3 weeks before demolition starts.
I'm certainly open to that. I'm happy to talk to the chairs of HHHS to decide from there. And Jesse, clearly your schedule would have to dictate whether or not something like that is possible.
I want to be very clear what David is asking. David is, I'm not trying to say it's a bad idea, but I just want to be clear. If we're talking about before September or September full board, that means you're meeting in August. And that means we have to have in-person quorum of 2 committees to be there. So if everybody wants to commit to that with their schedules, that's fine. But what I don't want to be doing is setting ourselves up where then it's our responsibility to be chasing down for quorum, and then we don't have quorum, or we have just enough quorum and we get criticized for voting on something when we have nearly half the committee not there. So I just want to be, if that's what we want to be doing, I think we need to really think about that in the month of August.
Yes to what Jesse said, and I think David Holoka's suggestion is a good one. I do believe Joe would be open to that idea. My co-chair, Joe Rasucha, I'm not 100% sure, but I think that this issue is important enough for us to
We'll talk. Thank you for the suggestion.
give us time.
Co-chairs to chair, and we'll figure out what's happening. Okay, fair? Good. Okay, time for folks to weigh in as in terms of follow-up to what you've heard thus far. You don't have to do that, but thank you for doing it. Paul, I see you have your hand up. We'll go down this way. I didn't mean to put you in that situation.
Okay, thanks everyone. I'm going to speed talk because we have so little time. First of all, I just want to remind everyone that this is the first time that we as a land use committee have taken up a development that is not an empty site. We are talking about human beings' lives. So everything we talk about impacts someone's real life. Their life will be disrupted, whether it's rehabilitation or renovation or partial demolition or full demolition, it doesn't matter. Their lives will be disrupted by our decisions. So I take this very seriously. The sentence that reads in HHH's letter that really struck with me is, and I'm going to quote, "Whatever proposal is finally agreed upon and approved, whether it be renovation, demolition, and replacement, or some combination of these options, is an important thing for us to consider as we move forward." As Christine Berthet pointed out, this is a chance that we as a board are not necessarily aligned with our elected officials. So I think we need to be conscious of the fact that how we prioritize ourselves does not necessarily align with the elected officials. So let's continue the communication. Let's not be adversarial. Let's have dialogue with them. So what is next is the question that's been asked a number of times. I think we should prioritize what we want. We as a committee in the past have tried to tackle this. What do we want and going forward? And so let's name a few things that seem to be agreeable to a lot of people. A minimum of 50% affordability of any new units. That's an easy one we can all agree to. Let's agree to that. We insist on a public process. They may not have a ULURP part. We don't want to label it ULURP because then somebody could say, well, this particular City of Yes plan doesn't require a ULURP. So let's be careful about the language we use and insist on a public process. Whether it's ULURP or some other form, we need to be involved in the discussions. So when people say it should be a ULURP, that's the ULURP model we want to use, but let's make sure we insist on public process. There's constant theme amongst all of us about the integration of NYCHA, affordable, and market rate. I mean, that's a bullet point. We should just clearly state the end result is integration for all. This family-sized units issue keeps coming up. Right sizing is important, but loss of bedrooms is important. So we support right sizing with the same number of family-sized units at the end of the project. Again, whether it's rehabilitation and people are right-sized and they shift around, or whether it's demolition and rebuilding, it's right-sized with the same number of bedrooms at the end of the process as the same or more. If we can get to more, that's fine. But we also have some very specific land use issues that we need to tackle. And again, I'm speed talking as fast as I can. You circulated talking points. I went through them all. Rehabilitation and infill alternative. I think okay, we can go through all those, but then let's go through those individually. But I'll say from the HHS letter, I did have a couple of concerns with some of the content in there. There is a statement about building all the NYCHA units first and then building the market rate units. I think that would be a conflict with our integration plan. So if we're going to have a priority be integration of units, we can't build all the NYCHA units first and put people into those and then build the market rate units second, because now we're forcing the separation. So let's figure out a plan of building building them conceptually so that we can have integration as our end goal. I think Josephine, you raised an important point about ongoing eviction protection. I think we need to add that into the letter. And then I had one more thing on the HHHS letter. Just to make sure that we protect the right sizing on page 3, Maria. Did Maria leave? Oh, Maria.
They're there.
Page 3, the first, no loss of family size units. Make sure it's included through right sizing. Like you don't use that language right sizing in there. So I just want to make sure we include that. I have way more, but I'll stop.
Will you you'll share those notes with them, with HHS? Yeah,
I will share notes.
Would be great. Thank you. Let's go Inga, then Dave, okay?
Thank you. Yeah, so I still have concerns about the integration and the bedrooms. So if there are 3,000 bedrooms now, we want 3,000. What are the sizes? The legal size is 8 feet. That only fits a twin bed. What are the sizes now? Are these going to be teeny weeny rooms that are very unlivable for people? Also, HHS.
Hold up right there for 1 second. That's in your HS letter?
The size of the bedrooms.
Right sizing bedrooms. Is that in your letter?
Yeah. Right. Because,
okay, all right.
I mean, legal is 8 feet, 8 by 8, or so 8 square, but that fits a twin bed.
Okay.
We want bigger bedrooms. We want livable.
Just
rooms.
checking. Just checking. Okay. Thank you.
So
go ahead, Inga.
I really feel very strongly about a vote. I think the residents, I think there should be an independent vote. Again, I've said this since the beginning. I still feel it's a land grab. I've said this since day one. I think there should be a vote. That survey it was bogus. It was biased. It was flawed. the petition is, there are more people on the petition, so we need to have a vote. And I really think the community, so NYCHA, Chelsea Elliott and Fulton, they need to have votes. Yeah, but
That's
I
okay.
also think the
That's okay.
community should have input again. So HHS voted, but did they send a letter? Are they doing anything, or nothing's happening till October?
Well, so hold on. So just HS met,
Mm-hmm.
had a series of discussion points
Right.
that then voted and said, we support these
These items,
bullets.
9 bullets.
Those bullets are not fully fleshed out at this point into letter format.
That won't happen till October.
As Maria pointed out, Maria, please forgive me if I'm incorrect, correct me on this, but the idea was you're not at this point ready to hand this off to full board. You're saying we need time between now and your next meeting to strategize how to turn these into content that folks can vote on. Is that fair to say?
Okay. No, you can share. I'll take it back. I'm not done.
Go ahead.
That is a draft document that you saw that we did.
Right. So nothing will happen with your document, actually,
No.
as it is now, until October.
Well, September, October, let's say until the
When's your next meeting?
as he just,
September what?
at this point, the next scheduled HS meeting is in September, the first Thursday of the month.
Right.
However, what we just talked about here
I know.
was
but
having,
as it is now.
Correct.
This hasn't happened.
correct.
Right now, nothing will happen till October with your letter because full board is September 30th.
Oh, yes, correct.
So as
correct.
it is now, it would be October
Yes.
before anything goes
Yeah.
anywhere. Probably mid-October. We
Mhm.
vote on the 30th, takes a
Yes,
week
thank
or
you
two.
for elaborating.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, yeah,
Dave, we'll go to you next.
yeah, there's so many things. Go ahead.
So let me just note two things. One is, I think to HHS's credit, they have identified for themselves what their key points are. We are now in the process of identifying ours. The suggestion to come together as soon as it's possible to do so to clarify is valuable. We are compromised by the calendar in more ways than one. That said, if I could just reinforce this idea that being crystal clear about what we are focused on matters more than anything else right now. And I think having clarity between HHS and CLUE is going to allow us the ability to have a comprehensive response. Go ahead, David, sorry.
Right. There's also next week that, we could potentially have a joint meeting. I know it's not a lot of notice. Jesse, perhaps we could arrange a meeting during August by having a lot of outreach and finding out when people are willing to commit to come to a meeting. I think it's really critical to get something done by the September 3rd rather than the September 30th full board meeting. And I think we want to plan something where there are a list of specific items for us to discuss and vote individually on for inclusion in the letter. I think everything Paul just mentioned, none of those things are in the currently proposed alternatives. And I think the beginning of our ultimate letter should be that CB4 does not accept any of the currently proposed NYCHA alternatives. We would support a plan that only included the following: integration, et cetera, the entire list. That's the way I would try to structure it.
We would only accept these points that are the summation of what HHS and CLUE share. Katie, go ahead, and then we'll go to Viren next. Oh, I'm sorry, Marty, then Viren. We'll just go down the line. We're going to do in person, then we'll do online. And let me just respond by saying, oh, okay. Well, I do want to point, Kate, I'm going to let Katie go and then I'm going to explain that and then we can take it down, okay? Because there's a reason that's there. No, Katie, go ahead. You go first and then I'll explain.
Okay. So I totally agree that I think it would be, frankly, I was hoping tonight we were maybe going to vote whether or not we support, what HHHS has already come up with. I really like what the suggestions that Paul made earlier too. I do think this goes to Shanice's point earlier too. I think we just have to come up with specific ideas of what we do want and that are constructive going forward. I really think that we need to suggest something that is about tackling all of the misinformation out there. I mean, I think that we just really have to come up, whether it's like, a special email address that people get to send questions to, and then answers go out every 2 weeks, answering everything that's come, whatever it is. I really think we need to help tackle misinformation. And I think it has to go to everybody who lives in NYCHA and in the community, and not just answering individual people's answers. I also think it would be lovely if at some meeting we can invite the State Attorney General's Tenant Protection Unit people to come speak and answer some questions. I think that'd be really useful. Thanks.
On that note, I want to just say, shared with this body in advance of this meeting was a number of potential reflections, meaning things we have talked about in other meetings that not different than different than what HHS put on the table. In other words, things that we could potentially weigh in on as part of CLUE. I'm just going to go through these slides very quickly in 30 seconds. We've talked a lot about alternative 5. That could be one. So again, we don't need to dig into this now, but to the point of saying, what do we need to focus on as CLUE? I was proposing some items so that it was not solely responding to HHS, but it was also, we can weigh in on HHS if we can come together to do so, but then what matters to us? And Paul, you already identified a couple of these, but I just want you to be clear. Considerations related to the financial and environmental analysis. Can you hit the next one for me? Thank you. The building heights and massing, that has come up a number of different times. Next one. There's your 50% affordable, which we've talked about a number of different times. Go ahead, Jesse. The permanent affordability protections, which has come up in this conversation as well. Go ahead. And ongoing with CLUE. The ULURP precondition, that's another one. Keep going, Jesse. Transparent financial planning as well. Go ahead. Environmental study area expansion, because that has been an ongoing issue that has been identified for this group through DEIS. Go ahead, next one. Transportation impact analysis, and I think there's one more. And the last one, community oversight and transparency in light of citywide zoning. So the reason I bring that up is because we didn't have time to dig into that. But what I was suggesting was, as a starting point, that these are the types of things now that we might double down on if they line up with what we're talking about as important in relation to CLUE. The reason we didn't start with this is because we needed to hear from the public, we needed to respond, we needed to hear from HHS and your progress, and now I think CLUE needs to weigh in on things that are CLUE-based as we consider HHS. And on that note, Viren, do you want to talk about what you did? Because you cross-referenced some of this stuff.
I think what HHS has done is quite fabulous, and I think it's very, very useful. A few things that I just sort of wanted to point out, but I don't think we have enough time for it. I've actually emailed all of that stuff to you, Greg, and some of the I've emailed it to HHS as well. One of the things that I want to mention, that current NYCHA square feet that we have must be put back in. So in other words, even if you do right sizing, the total square feet of NYCHA currently owned area should be retained, and that becomes additional section 8 or section 9, whichever way we go, but it becomes very much part of NYCHA housing, and I think that is significantly important. The second part that I think I'm forgetting right now, but oh yes, the most important part, when we talk about at least 50%, we should be asking for more than 50%, and I'll tell you why I'm saying that. I've sort of stated it more clearly because I write better than I speak. What I've said is that the different tiers of AMI have to be actually stated very clearly, whether it's 30%, 40%, 50%, 60%, 80%, whatever we have, but it has to be stated, it has to go deeper. You can't keep calling it affordable and asking for 80% to 100% AMI, because that is not affordable for the people that we're speaking about, especially on publicly owned land. So those are the two main points that I would like HHS to include, and I've emailed them back and forth. Last thing that I'm going to say, last thing I'm going to say is that, you keep saying that we are advisory and we don't take a position. I don't think it is entirely true, because all we do is we always take positions. And what we are doing right now and what has been done up until now, we have taken positions, and we can communicate those positions to the elected. And that's exactly what is being asked for. So let's not keep saying we are only advisory, we don't matter. No, we matter a lot. Thank you.
Marty has been holding the mic too.
Yeah, and I think we're going to go right there, and then you're up next, okay? Go ahead. Go ahead, Mark. Go ahead.
So I'm really glad to see this list of points developing, the HHS and what I just saw. I want to change I want to talk a little bit personally about where I feel I'm sitting. I'm sitting and have been sitting for the last 2 years without the information that I have asked for. And as time goes on, I'm realizing that I'm going to have to make a decision about whatever we put together, not having the information that I want to have. That really upsets me. The inability to get information, and that we have had trouble getting information. For instance, let's start with the vote. We were told from the stage that the electeds, and we just saw this tonight, that the electeds aren't going to do anything that they don't feel that the majority of the Chelsea Elliott Fulton people are in favor of. And we have heard ourselves say that we want another vote. I don't care for another vote at this point. If we come out with a vote that's 60-40 in either direction, you've got a whole lot of people that are going to disagree with whatever the output is. There is no way at this point that we're going to get consensus on anything. So arguing for a vote, in my opinion, is a waste of time. We're going to have to make a decision without a vote. We're going to have to make a decision based on the list of stuff that I have just seen to help us make that decision. Two of the pieces of information that we haven't gotten, well, at least one, is that the buildings need to be repaired. There's two. One is that the buildings need to be repaired, and the other is that renovation would be more expensive than demolition. David has talked us through that over time. If we're going to insist on anything, and I have been told that there is a report that shows the structures need to be renovated, but I don't think we've seen that report. And unless we see that report, those people that tell me that there is such a report at the town hall, I was told there's a report the building needs to be renovated. I won't say who said it, but it was an official. And if there is such a report, show it to us, please. That will help make the decision. And the other thing that we haven't received is the renovation versus demolition. We haven't seen that. The buildings on the one hand, renovation per room versus demolition. We haven't seen those reports. We may have to make a decision without that. The obfuscation of information has been constant in this, and we're going to have to make a decision knowing that we're sitting in this quagmire of lack of information. Thank you, all of you, who have been putting together a really nice list of points that we need to be focusing on. That's what I'm going to base my own decision on, how that develops.
I just wanted to agree with the point of having a joint meeting before the September 3rd. I think Maria's list is a great one. I do want to go into the meeting, if we do have one before the September 3rd full board, with a clear goal of outcome. I don't want us to just have a meeting for meeting's sake. So if we do have this meeting, what is the goal of the meeting? What are we trying to do to come out of that meeting with? I think it's impossible to get everyone's point of view in the next 5 minutes of what's important to them. So as an action item, I would love for us to come to the next meeting, or I don't know if we can compile prior to what's everyone's top 5, top 10 things. I'm sure there are tons of commonalities there. So when we do have the next meeting, we can have, Clue can have our own list already put together based on what we all thought, and then we can move forward from there.
Yeah, I think based on what we heard from HHHS and HHHHS and the additional thoughts and addendums associated with that, that's like column 1, right? And then circulated here and also shared has been some content related to items that we have talked about or thought about. So we could have that as column 2. If we circulate that in advance and ask folks to weigh in on that and also to say what lines up, what's missing, and then if we convene, we're convening around those pieces. So the track work is laid so that when we have a conversation, that conversation can lead to what I think we're all seeking to do, which is something that probably aligns with what we heard earlier, which is unless these conditions are met, ... Okay? Can we, go this, I'm gonna go this way and then, because we haven't heard yet, so I'm gonna let you go first. Because we haven't heard yet.
Yeah, I just wanted to say one thing about being realistic about the amount of leverage that we have here with the new City of Yes alternative, which is an as-of-right redevelopment, including a demolition, that introduces a ton of new market rate housing, nearly as much as the rezoning plans. So I think realistically, like the refill option, the renovation option, those are not really on the table. I think what's on the table is the rezoning options and the City of Yes option, which does not include ULURP. So I think if we want a say in this, we really should focus on what are we asking for in terms of mitigation and making plans better, not like we should be realistic.
And I think that's related to those columns, related to the HHHS and to ours. The idea of having a strategic targeted response that is thoughtful is absolutely and actionable is important for us. Paul, Pamela, and then I got to go online.
I just want to ask a question about the timing for the meeting. David, has HUD approved, they can't do any action until HUD takes action, correct? So the threat of demolition starting by October isn't a legitimate threat. When do we know when HUD will be approving?
Let's take that as a question that we need to find a response.
Yeah, because in terms of scheduling 2 committees for August,
Agreed,
if there's no deadline and we can do this in September, let's do it in September.
The last conversation that I had heard related to timing was related to Essence and Related's presentation to Fulton Houses, which in their timeline had already said that they thought they were going to get the response to the FEIS in the spring, but that wasn't until the summer. And that also changes the clock. But I didn't see an updated slide that says that. I think that's related to the conversations that we have with NYCHA, which we have to have the electeds held accountable to hold NYCHA accountable to explain what that actual timeline is. Pamela?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay. Also with timing, since we seem to be on a roll, is it possible that we could schedule the joint meeting earlier rather than later? I see heads going, no.
I prefer not to try to schedule it now, but we'll see if we can work it out
I
separately.
don't mean to say schedule it now. I mean to say figure out a way to get it to happen sooner rather than later.
Okay. I mean, I would just suggest, as chair, working with the Triple H folks, I would try to figure out if we can find a common date. I'm sorry, you're over. I'm sorry, I'm pointing totally in the wrong area. That we would work it. We have to talk first. So then I think we go from there.
I'm just saying.
I feel you. I feel you.
Speed.
I have no summer plans, so my schedule's clear. I that's terrible. I know. I was kidding. Jeez. All right. Final thoughts. Listen, we're on the clock now. 26. We've got 4 minutes, but we really do need to exit. Viren, you want to jump in? Hector, did you want to weigh in? I saw your hand up.
Just very quick.
Oh, I'm sorry, Rodney. Rodney, yes. Who else? I was just looking for hands. Sorry, if I didn't see your hand, I apologize. No, anything other than that. Hector, did you want to weigh in before we jump off? Okay. We'll circle back to you. I'm going to have Viren go, and then we'll have to jump in.
Yeah.
Hold on 1 second, Hector. Go ahead, Viren.
Just very quickly, City of Yes.
Oh, you want me to wait?
Hold on 1 second, Hector. Go ahead, Viren.
The City of Yes is a monster in the room in a way, and not in a bad way, in a good way too. But at the same time, the lack of clarity about City of Yes is something that we should be cognizant of. Because I've done a whole study, and I can send it to you. There is a potential for City of Yes plan that's been approved for it to sideline both ULURP and City Council. Well, and that's problematic. There is a little loophole there, which I'm still trying to figure out. Because it's NYCHA owned land, there might be an exception that might apply to that. I'm looking for that information and I'll send it to you. But at the same time, what I'm hearing is from people who know better than I do, even if City of Yes kicks in, City Council is actually leaning more, City Council being our council member, is leaning more towards the ULERP kind of an approach. So he doesn't want to lose control over the process, and that is good news. So I just wanted to put it on the table, and I will send you more information, which I'm working on in a couple of days.
I welcome the information when you share it. Hector, we'll give you a minute. We have one more minute here, and then I think we can close ourselves out. Go ahead, Hector.
Yeah, gotcha. First of all, thanks a lot, Gret. Even I know it's kind of hard running these meetings. Look, as a member of both the land use and the triple HS committees, and I'm also a rep of Fulton Tennis Association, I've seen all sides of this issue and understand all the concerns I'm hearing constantly. I've lived through them. But look, time is running out, and I'm glad that some of you are really realizing that now. A little late, but better late than never. We can either come together now to improve this plan and fight for the best possible outcome, or stay divided and miss the chance to shape the future of our community. If we waste this moment disagreeing among ourselves, we'll look back with regret knowing we missed the boat. All right?
Thank you, Hector. Paul, final thought.
Greg, I wanted to go through all these points that you had raised.
Yeah.
But we don't have time for that. But I do want to add one other point that was not on the list, which is I think we need to address a severe penalty and punishment plan if the developer discontinues the development for any reason whatsoever, whether it's financial distress, market shifts, or acts of God. If they start the project and create a hole and people have been relocated, they need to be punished severely and make sure that project gets completed. And I think that's a section we need to add.
Got it. I had 9 points. That sounds like number 10. We'll look at those. We'll add, subtract, or divide. Can I get a motion to end tonight's meeting? Motion second. All those in favor? Thank you very much for your time and support. Everyone who's here tonight, thank you. Thank you.